Hey guys, so back again, another night. Go over some material, a year in review. A lot of stuff has happened over the last year, and none of it, I believe, is not relevant even up to today. So it's good to go back and review our research and correct things that where we made mistakes. I mean, we're only humans, so I don't think any of us know 100% what's going on or how it's being done, but we can definitely research and get a bigger picture. So that's what this is all about. And so we'll get started. Let's see here. So we left off with Todd's video there. This next one was just a little clip. When Scott Kelly returned, they gave out distance of how much the ISS had traveled, and I just did a rebuttal to it, working out the math, and they were out. But that wasn't a big one. It's really hard to prove. So actually, that's probably a video I'll remove just because back then I was looking for stuff still. I was just starting researching, so I was reaching for a lot of things that I thought meant something, but in the overall picture, these little things, they don't really prove anything. They're more self-evident things to look at. But the cable industry, though, because everyone's like, they presume that our cell phones, Wi-Fi, all kinds of things are done through satellites, but that can be further from the truth. When you do go researching, you'll find out that there's a huge cable industry in the world that runs cables underneath the oceans, connecting all the countries together. First one was laid back in the 1800s. This video goes through it, so we'll take a look at it. Let me just turn this up a bit. This is a good one. Let's see, these are all the tables they're using for what to expect underneath the waterline, the landscape there. So you can see it's always based on this flat plane. There's no curve to come into effect. And look at the date there, right? This is interesting. And I pointed out they're using the flat Earth AE map roughly right there, showing where all the cables are going. It's quite interesting. And as you can see, the towers, everything's connected, and they got this, what they call backhauling. I tried to put the material from Turner cables into this, but they got me on a copyright claim, so I couldn't include it. I just want to make a video here about our internet. A lot of people have a misconception that the internet goes through the satellites. Now, I pulled up a whole bunch of articles and I put a collage of pictures there for you to take a look at. But basically, what people need to understand is that the entire internet, and admittedly by them, is brought to them by and through cables. And just as this little video here shows, see all the cable they have laid since 1850s. They basically, England actually had the world wired by the early 1900s. You can see here, and this is a nice graphic here, a nice level flat ocean them showing us in their own little way. I mean, this whole process too of a curved ocean would make this impossible. But this also, I want to go over is, where this industry has come from and where it's going, because people think that this is a dying industry, but if you actually take a look, you'll see that this industry is taking off right now. It's anticipating huge markets coming in from India and Asia, so um, they have a buzz within their industry over that. So we'll just stop this video here. It's just a little video on this one site, and what we'll do is we'll continue on, and you can see here, even right now, this was just February 8th, and down in Australia, they had a problem with one of the lines, and it caused some major problems for their internet. And in Brazil, they're talking about, supporting the portion of the cable, and that here was just March 2nd, so that's today's news. We can see here the Global Marine completes work on the ASC cable system extension project, and that just finished up on February 16th, 2016. Here we got Cambodia grants rights to Chinese firm to build submarine cables landing stations, so connecting basically some countries over in China there. Internet Vietnam to slow down due to some maintenance over the weekend here, and some news just coming in. Let's see here. New groundbreaking cable system between all these countries here. That's to take place coming up here. It's a plan for a new cable system network that they want to lay down, connect a whole bunch of countries together. And let's see here. The cable security around the world. So they have found some articles in related to what affects them, stuff like that. It's interesting to know that they had a big problem with the Russians tapping in, and vice versa. They were tapping into Russia stuff. New SLT introduces new submarine cable system. Now I read through some of this. They're looking at taking up to 400 terabytes worth of transfer right now. I mean, we're going up to promised 100 gigabytes. Now they want to go up to 400 gigabytes, so we'll see. 10 facts about the internet's undersea cables. So cable installation is slow, tedious, and expensive work. And sharks are trying to eat the internet. They don't know why. They have a whole bunch of reasons or speculation. The internet is valuable underwater, or is as valuable underwater as it is underground. Connecting the world through undersea cables isn't exactly new. No, it's been going on since 1850. And actually, this map they show here, I have it in the running collage of pictures. You can pause it in the video to take a look. But this part here is quite interesting because this is their original map they used. And you'll see here from Newfoundland to England, this is flat. This is a survey cutaway of the ocean between the 2 points. It's interesting to see it's flat on their map. I mean, I know it's flat, but to see that they used it like that. Now, here's that part. Spies love underwater cables. Goes on about the Soviets and everything like that going after the cables. They had a big problem with that. Governments are turning to submarine cables to avoid said spies. Well, they mean by burying them. Submarine communication cables are faster and cheaper than satellites. Well, this is something I'll talk about in a bit here because with my research, I mean, they got cables that are going 22,000 kilometers, and they say the reason why the satellites are so slow is because the signal going up to a satellite that's 20 to 30,000 kilometers up above us is slower due to the distance. Yet we got light being sent through a fiber optic cable. The same way they have the technology to send radio waves which travel almost the speed of light. I would think that would travel up to a satellite just as quick as going through a cable, if not quicker, because you get resistance in the cables for the light. I forgot it. I think it's called retrograde or something. But forget cyber warfare to really cripple the internet. You need scuba gear and a pair of wire cutters. So true, because it's all underneath the oceans. All the internet between the continents runs there. They even say it. I'll show you. And it wouldn't take much to cripple those connections. Underwater cables are not easy to repair, but after 150 years, we've learned a trick or two. Sure. The internet's undersea backbone is built to last for 25 years. You know, I think it's a little bit longer than that, but that would be here nor there. But they do say here in the same breath that they have 22 of them that still aren't turned on. So I'm thinking, and they go, it's a little confusing here because they say they're dark cables until they're lit, and then they get a life expectancy of 25 years. But I mean, we're at 2014, there's 285 communication cables, and 22 of them are still to this day not lit. So is the lifespan going to start when they get lit, or when at 2014 they got 22 of them just sitting there using up lifespan? Hard to tell from what it says there. I've read it a few times over. By the sounds of it, it's like the 25 years starts once they get lit up, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, let's move on. So, about the satellite stuff. So, you know, I went and just Googled about the satellites up in space, and right away, these are all the articles, mainly Elon Musk with his whole dreaming of supplying internet to everybody. But like I said, at the early 1900s, Britain already had all the continents hooked up. So this talk about them hooking up to third world countries, I'm not sure about, because from the maps and everything of these cable companies, they're already connected. So I'm not too sure. So just going through some of these articles, this here, right there, internet by satellite is a space race with no winners, because they go on to say basically they've tried. There's been companies in the past tried. And basically, it comes down to that it's just too expensive. It's also, the signal's not good. They get too much legacy, and they can't keep that technology up to what the demand is for that technology. Move on from that. Another one on him here. And just below here, I want to just bring these up. So there's a couple of things where they're actually going to be spending some money. You look at Facebook here, Mark Zuckerberg. He invested, or he's saying he wants to bring free internet to the unconnected parts of the world. So that's what I was talking about. Like they're using that, saying that's the reason behind this. But when you look at the cable maps, they're already connected, like I said. And Google has Project Blue, which is these balloons they want to put up into the stratosphere. So that's that part there. And this last part here, this was just about the secret world of submarine cables. Just want to read this to you. The internet's largest and most important and yet unsung champions are the privately owned submarine cables that orbit the Earth. Wise choice of words, guys. Terra firma links between cities and cables that run alongside roads and into houses and offices. I should have said offices, are certainly impressive. And without them, we wouldn't have an internet. But sinking a cable into the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and even Arctic oceans requires $1 billion logistic feat that requires months and even years to enact. So it goes on here, but down here, what I want to just go over here was this here. Finally, we would be remiss to ignore geostationary orbital communication satellites. While satellite data links can be in the gigabyte range, the high legacy of bouncing a signal through a point that is rather far away, 35,000 kilometers to 22,000 miles, makes them unsuitable for many customer internet services. The same legacy will pose some big problems when we start colonizing our planets and need to create an interplanetary or intergalactic internet, or GalNet for short. Well, that's funny. But anyway, My thoughts on this whole thing is definitely there's no satellites, and the proof is right in front of us. This submarine cables, the industry itself is booming and growing and moving forward. If we look over here, actually, you'll see that Facebook, they invested, well, let me pull it up here. Google invests in a 60 terabyte, $300 million trans-Pacific cable to protect its growth in Asia. You got Facebook invests in a 55 terabyte intra-Asia submarine cable system. You know, they talk about our lust for the binary code here, and what's this? 1.5 billion. The cost of cutting London Tokyo's legacy by 60 milliseconds. And what's the other one I was looking at? Right here. And then we have this little article here. You know, basically the future of the cable industry is going to only grow. The buzzword is legacy. That's the only thing they're working on. Get low legacies through their cables, you know, newer technology, stuff like that. So, I mean, go out there, do some research. You'll see that the cable industry is growing quite strong. And I doubt we'll ever see a day where any of these companies are actually getting any of their satellite programs off the ground. But anyway, I'll talk to you soon. So yeah, and I caught myself in a few mistakes from back then, just more grammar than anything. I was coming into this, I'm not really comfortable being a public speaker and that, but with something this important, I've pushed myself beyond to try to engage people so I'd be able to bring the research forward. So people are knocking me for that, that's fine. So far I've been called many things over the year now with Flat Earth, so I've got a pretty thick skin when it comes down to insults. So tonight, what I want to do a little bit different than yesterday. Oh, let's see, pop-out doesn't work. Is there anybody in here? 10 watching, 9 watching, no chat though. If you guys have any questions, maybe just put it into the chat. I'll just test this. Okay, so I'll check it again after the next video. I was talking yesterday about NASA having two components to their business. We see the real side and the fake side, and the space side is the fake side. The real side is their work with Boeing and Lockheed and other companies that are in the aerospace industry. So this video, I went and grabbed some information and stuff, some videos I found, and piecemealed them together to bring that story. So we'll give this a quick watch. Just gonna talk about NASA and how they're two-faced here, because when we look at them, they're actually a part of two industries.
What does it take to change the world?
What is the most important experiment on the ISS right now, and why?
Yeah, he ain't gonna answer it. He doesn't know the answer. This also gets me thinking NASA might be
This
involved with what
disciplined and
we
deliberate
consider
process can be
chemtrails.
seen clearly in the aircraft industry.
Nick, there are the two ways to answer that question.
And because getting it right is so important, the workload is often shared with thousands of highly skilled industry personnel.
From my point of view, the most important experiment on the space station right now is the one
Very
that I'm doing.
contradictory.
As well as with the brilliant engineers who run our national wind tunnels, labs, and flight facilities at NASA.
And the reason why is because if I don't do my part right,
What
the
a joke.
experiment probably will be a failure.
Much of the early testing begins at NASA, where engineers bring the breadth of years of aeronautical knowledge.
And this explains where all
Right
the
now, while I'm working here,
money is
all the
going for
members of
NASA
the crew
employees.
are
Like
working on their
everyone
experiments.
asks,
We will follow
there's so many
them
people
to
at
see how
NASA.
initial designs and ideas
How could they all
are
keep
moved
alive,
through
right?
the
So
pipeline from computer
most of the
drawings
people
and
I
wind tunnel
suspect
models
that work at
all the way
NASA
to scale model
work
aircraft
on this
and
side of
full-scale
NASA,
flights.
because even in the
Chris
title, this is
Chris
NASA
Madison
X.
assembling one in the microgravity science
true.
glove box.
Really, this is an experiment. Think about it. You guys go watch this video in full. I just sped it up here, but come on.
By now, most people are familiar with the story of the first flight the Wright brothers took at Kitty Hawk
See,
in
some real
1903. The
scientists
brothers
here.
realized that much of the data they'd been using from others was faulty, and the only way they could get accurate
They
data
had to get the
was to get
data
it
themselves,
themselves.
right?
And let's get back to doing some science.
First successful heavier-than-air flying
And remember
machine.
that, heavier than air.
Obviously, much of the testing of today is accomplished by aircraft manufacturers,
Just one of these jaw-dropping moments.
but many people don't realize that virtually every new aircraft design is still tested at different NASA centers around the country.
They're involved with this
Oh,
industry.
right at the lead. I saved the lens.
This is because NASA is still the world leader in aeronautics and has the facilities and brainpower to continue to improve the science of flight for all of us.
And I'll use it to make tea with, so I end up drinking my experiment.
So they're actually into
People
the
decide that they're gonna take a
airplanes,
flight.
not
What are they
into
looking
space.
for? Are they looking at how long it's going to take me to make this flight? Not necessarily. They're looking at the number of stops and the cost.
Cost, right?
Gotta conserve
Yeah,
your
cost
resources.
us a lot in taxpayer money to do that,
So
right?
we're directly, the work that we're doing directly impacts those. Fuel burn, emissions, noise. So for the general public, what we're doing is making it less costly for you to fly
Again,
without any
cost.
reduction in your safety. And we're doing that while we're making it better for the environment.
Your normal everyday life intuition no longer applies.
And the environmental check.
Environmentally
They had to throw that in there.
project is making a significant and important contribution to aviation because it primarily is working on reducing fuel consumption and also reducing environmental impact, negative impact to the world from the aviation, namely emission and noise.
Really.
And that's why frontiers are rich.
That's why we're saying
Their
chemtrails,
goal
right?
to
I think it's all
simultaneously reduce aircraft drag by 8%, weight by 10%, fuel consumption by 15%, emissions by 75%,
Make us believe
and
the
reduce
our
overall
airplanes are
aircraft
causing
noise by nearly 90%.
all the pollution.
Because things aren't the normal, they aren't the usual.
So
Great
after the
actors up in
computer
space, so
models
they
are
use
run, engineers send exacting specifications to NASA's model makers, who build these small-scale
model makers.
aircraft for
Here we
testing
go.
in wind tunnels.
We wonder where the ISS came from.
Joe, come take a peek at this.
Wow.
Of course, the art of creating aircraft models is decades old.
It's a superposition of surface waves that go around the outside of the sphere and body-centered waves, inertial waves that go through the middle.
But one of the newest and most exciting technologies being used to predict and improve aircraft characteristics is located here in the 14 by 22 wind tunnel at NASA Langley.
Of course.
But I think if you were just to come on board and think, what is the most important one?
This new technology is a very sophisticated acoustic array that is helping to reshape our understanding of aircraft.
To me, I think this is actually showing us
Maybe right now it's
technology
the alpha-magnetic spectrometer, which is collecting
in a different way.
energy from the
There's
universe.
revealing it
Well,
by
they're
saying they're
running
using it for something else.
composed of almost 100 microphones. And what it does, it phases the signals.
Oh yeah, they designed that just to understand aircraft noise.
I'm gonna give it another puff, just because I'm in space and I can.
go to a different location and
Wow.
and amplify the signals so that we can pick particular spots and be able to determine exactly where the noise is coming from by focusing on different locations. It's kind of taking.
Okay, and I didn't say enough here, and I want to just stress it a little bit more. When I'm kind of pointing out here in this part of the video is this testing they're doing there, that device, what it does is they can zero in on a spot and hear exactly what's going on at that spot. And this technology, I definitely haven't seen that type of technology. Well, we've seen, the spies using their little radar dishes, stuff like that, but this is pretty accurate stuff. If you listen, I mean, they're showing us using it for the engineering of the aircraft, the testing of this aircraft body. But I believe this is also revealing some very hidden technology of what they actually have and what they use, So just want to clarify that because I don't think I made it too clear there.
A snapshot.
And you really want to focus, and no matter
Different
what else is
locations,
happening,
remember they said
that
this is
the
in their
most
building.
important thing of all.
So that you'll be able to see it.
I wonder if this is like new spying radar, so they can listen in on us.
You would only measure a single microphone result, but now we can actually pinpoint it. We've done acoustic testing in this facility primarily for helicopter work,
It's collecting dark matter from the universe.
but never to this magnitude as far as the array, the towers that we have. But this is the most extensive.
Like they said, different locations.
Whoa.
What's the
Oh, look at that. Cool.
We really have done a good job of designing these concepts using the virtual space, and they are performing as predicted.
I squirted water through. Oh, isn't that cool?
Mostly as predicted.
And one thing I want to show is like this guy's a real scientist, a real engineer, right? You feel that.
Create a technology that you have to look at all aspects of it, make sure that it doesn't have any negative impact. It takes about 15 to 20 years to get on a real aircraft.
Like again,
so
real
we have
scientist.
been working on this technology
That guy,
for
I
the
believe.
past few years, and we are part of a
Real
program,
scientist, engineer. Like one thing I noticed
Water in the sphere went around the air cap.
between these,
that
what I
once
want to
we are
show
done
is
with
that
this experiment,
we look at
that we down
SpaceX
select
or
some of our best
NASA X,
performing noise reduction
and
concepts for both
we see
lab
real
and
engineers. They
landing
sound real. They're
and pretty
talking
much put it
the
on
lingo.
takeoffs from
You watch
aircraft,
Chris Hadfield
and
or any
use
of these
that
other
aircraft as a test bed to
Scott
really,
Kelly and that.
find out.
They're actors. This guy's an actor.
It looks like, oh, look at that. Yeah. Oh,
They don't know
performance
experiments.
of these noise
They know how
reduction
to act.
technologies that we're working on.
That's why
in real
it
environments
doesn't
to
feel right
the
when you're
actual
watching it.
scale
You know
of
something's wrong because this isn't the way it acts. Like every professional agency we see,
we're working
their
on
employees act
for the
accordingly.
lab, we have shown through our modeling and simulation that you can reduce it by about 60-70%.
They don't do this. This isn't a
And
science
for the
experiment.
landing here, we have shown
We're spending
that
billions of dollars for him to play around with a
60%. And so
large
what we are
sphere
trying
of
to
water
do
in space.
Here is through computational simulation.
Simulation.
That is really
And this
cool,
whole thing about them
and
trying to find dark
technology
energy up
that
there.
really
Like what
produced that
equipment is up there that's going to capture dark energy
That's
when they're
really
building
interesting. It's not conclusive
CERN?
yet because it hasn't been there long enough to
That's
prove it.
huge. It takes up 2 countries almost, like, come on. Look at this. Fly heavier than air machine. Heavier than air machine. These little statements, and they said it twice in this film, are totally towards density. There's no gravity in that statement.
And we could prove that. We could figure that out because of the
See,
International
it points
Space
up for
Station.
the space
One of the
station.
latest
I
flight
cut
records
that clip a
fall
couple more
in the
times in
hands
here
of
so you guys can
engineers
catch
who
it.
fly this
Look at him when he talks about the space station. He's pointing out
This unique
like
hybrid
he's on the
wing-body
ground.
design is a departure from current aircraft designs, but has shown great promise in reducing both noise and emissions.
it swallowed up.
So we've done wind tunnel testing, right? We did wind tunnel testing with both the B configuration and the
Also
C
going to leave a link
configuration.
for this
And the next
original
step
video
beyond wind tunnel
for
testing is
this
to take a smaller scale. This is an 8.5%
48
scale
so that you guys
vehicle
can take a look
into
at it.
flight test and make sure that everything that you've predicted through the wind tunnel
How am I going to get those out?
is confirmed or validated in flight. So the
As far as the rest of the
XLV-392
cutscenes from,
flights, we've now
the NASA
converted
Space
into the
Agency,
XLV, which is our low noise configuration.
they're
It's
everywhere.
called the
Those
low
are
noise
easy to find. I
configuration
don't think I need to
because
post those
we
for
have
you
gone
guys.
from 3 engines to 2 engines.
It's
This
collecting
guy,
dark matter from the
an
universe.
actor.
We've extended the aft deck of the aircraft, and that's meant to shield the noise in the downward direction. You also notice that on the B aircraft, we had winglets that we've now moved inboard to vertical tails, and they shield the noise in the outward direction.
Oh, I can be a human pendulum. This shows the Lens law.
I
Because
can't
the
wait for their
researchers are
judgment.
pushing the envelope of flight with this scale model, no humans are put in danger during the test.
We're an unmanned vehicle. We are remotely piloted, so that means that we do have a pilot that flies it. We have a ground control station that sits in our
See,
hangar.
real
Pilot
scientist here.
sits in the
Listen
ground
to her.
control
Real.
station along with a flight test engineer,
She knows her stuff.
a range safety officer, and a flight
This guy?
director.
Some dark matter with that
And he's an
experiment
astronaut.
space station.
This is supposed to be our
And so
brightest,
is the pilot
most
that
educated
flies all the
people.
flight cards that we have prepared for him for each
There's
of the
lots of
flights.
checks every
We
day.
test
Like
all
these
of the
guys should be
systems
checking
on
that
the aircraft to
ISS
make sure
every
they're-
day.
They're working.
They put them in
We can
danger up
prove
there
that.
all the
We can
time.
figure that out.
See, it
Because
comes
of
up
the
again.
International Space Station.
We make sure all the flight control surfaces are working
See, very
well. So the
methodical.
pilot who's
They
sitting
do
in the ground
tests.
control
You
station
know,
back
this
at
is
the
real.
hangar cycles all of the surfaces.
Remote
to make sure
control
they're
the
working
plane.
well.
But ISS send up a crew of what, 4 or 6? How many are up there? Somewhere around that.
Speeds alive and mounts. Good engines.
Just like this. Yeah, responsible guys. They look like they're doing work.
Tower, Skyrray 48 is airborne, Lakehead 23 right, turn right into the area with chase.
Oh yeah, one that all-seeing eye. I cut a clip here to show you. They had to throw it in there.
That's really interesting. It's not conclusive
Look at
yet
this fool.
because it hasn't been there long enough to prove it.
And not only that, I want to show you the connection at the end of this. You'll see, because they're throwing the one, the all-seeing left eye here in this water clip. And then also they, it's on another YouTuber's channel. They showed them doing a dance. And if you look at the front astronaut, you'll see it. It's the dance of Shiva. So people that say there's no link between this and other things that are
What we're
going
gonna do
on
is move the flap to certain
out to
position,
lunch. They're
then
just,
we're gonna fly it.
or their
for a
tunnel
period of
vision.
time.
Because they're not
We're gonna
opening their
map it,
eyes
take lots
that
of measurements,
this is connected
and then we're gonna
to
move the
everything
flap a
else
little
that we're
bit
seeing.
more,
That's why
slide it
people
again.
say Flat Earth opens you
So
up,
it's actually
because
gonna be ground
you
activated.
get to
We'll do
finally
this
get
till
the
we
key
capture
to
the
see
full
how
flight
all the
out.
conspiracies
Generally,
link
on these
together.
types of
So
research flights,
these
there
other
will be a
truthers
small
are
crew,
getting upset
2
about
pilots
Flat
up
Earth
front,
should actually
and
come
several
and help
engineers
us out,
to sit in the
because
back to monitor the data.
that information
Same data
and
is
our
also
information
beamed down
and
to the
everybody's
engineers on the
information
ground to
probably will
validate the
unlock
intel and compare
this paradigm
models.
of lie quicker. Watch her dance. We all got pieces to this puzzle. So I mean, all we have to do is expose this and show everyone what's going on. And this is NASA. $18.5 billion. That's what they are doing with it. And it's from this point on, you can see it in IPEC GOAT, or you can see it in CERN video on symmetry, singularity. But this movement here is from the Dance of Shiva. She was doing the Harlem Shuffle up to that point, but when she took that frisbee and handed it off, she changed it. And then go look at Shiva's Dance of Destruction.
After all is said and done, this new technology has the
It's
potential
definitely
to
mission
become
control,
a
isn't it?
game-changer
But
in
for
every
airplanes,
aspect.
not spaceships.
So if you think that they are doing science and they are a legitimate company, you are dead wrong.
No matter
Like she
how it's
said.
done, it's comforting to
And
know
that was
that
Educate Yourself.
engineers
Go subscribe to her.
responsible aviation
What I do
project
is I
are
actually try to
continuing
promote
make
everybody.
strides to
Subscribe to
improve
each other.
flight
Let's
for
build
air
and
passengers
unite here.
today
Let's show each other
and
the
for
strength of our
generations of
community.
future flyers as well.
A floating head.
Oops. Let's show each other
And
the
for
strength of our
generations of
community.
future flyers as well.
A floating.
And so the big point of this video was to see the comparison. I mean, this guy here is nothing more than an actor. And we know that. I mean, I don't think we've all watched TV over our lives, stuff like that. That's why when we can look at this, we do have experience. Don't let people tell you that you don't understand something or whatever. We all went to school. So this is another thing that really bothers me about some people arguing this, is that they presume that we didn't get an education and such. But that couldn't be further from the truth. And now over a year into it, the amount of research I've done, I've learned more in the last year and a half probably than I did all through university and college. So, but let's go and see if anybody's got any questions. Well, and I wonder this myself, but we've seen, movie stars and in the music industry, people coming out, and I believe we see whistleblowers in all parts of the corporation as well that have come out to try to get us to open up to it. Plus, and I mean, there's no fact behind what it says in the Bible, but it does, Satan has to show us too. So there could be that too. There could be this rule too. So we see all that stuff. So it's hard to say. I'm not sure. That's just speculation. Speculation is one thing, and then research is another. And that is two different parts of life. And we got to realize that we got to address both, because we're researching and obtaining facts, and those facts are hardened. And with the flat earth, the experiments we're doing are laying a foundation of evidence. So to me, that's going to start shaking what's going on, and we're going to see people coming out because of that as well. And you're going to see some crazy people come out with their debunking videos and that. And it's one I was looking at today. What was it saying? Coward. And the guy's he's actually accusing that there's flat earthers that are being cowards and stuff, the way they're trying to attack his comments and that, making false allegations. And then we see this again when, for example, the Flat Earth Society. We know that's controlled opposition. Some of the claims that he's made, and if you do any kind of research and find out the Masonic connection to that, and understand that if you're going to pull off a lie, the best thing to do too is start the movement against the lie, control the truth. You're not going to just let the truth hang out there and let someone else grab it. Now, people got to realize that these people are smart, and if not, even smarter, because, and this is just my own personal belief, but I do believe, Satan, Lucifer, wherever that entity is here. You can plainly see it in everything. Once your eyes open up, it's hard not to see. So the beast, I think we're all in the belly of the beast. We're all trying to figure it out, but we got to realize first, this is his kingdom. I mean, it says right in the Bible, if we want to take that as fact, I mean, then Satan take Jesus to the top of the mountain and offered him all the kingdoms of the world. So wouldn't that tell us who is actually in charge? So let's think about that. I mean, one thing I want to just make a note of too is, with my research, I came as an atheist into this, and I tell you, I know 100% there's a creator. Now, my research is into religion as well now. I don't want to argue it because it's never been solved. We know that already from history. But under my impression with religion, you have to research it too. Remember, that's all man's hand. To me, creation alone, the trees in front of us, the water, the rivers, the oceans, the birds, the animals, everything around us, that's the Bible of the Creator. I think it's pretty self-evident. But I'll leave it at that. I'm not against religion, but I'm all not 100% for religion, because to me they have a lot of issues that we have to talk about, but I don't think we have enough time for that. And I don't think that's going to solve anything. Religion's already been debated, and it seems to me that they're at a roadblock. So what can we do? I bet there are some who secretly are paying attention. Oh yeah, everyone's paying attention, I think. And the ones like I've talked to, I have some friends that have families, and they want to know, but they don't want to know, because when you have kids, and I don't have kids, so I can only imagine and assume what it would be like if you have children right now. Can you get past your instinct to protect? And protect is to shield your children from the world, isn't it? So could we, right now with waking masses, I think one of the biggest problems we have really is that a lot of families, a lot of people, they just cannot get past that protection to look into stuff like this, because that jeopardizes that. That's my opinion on it. I mean, I believe there's a lot of other factors in play. And with Flat Earth, that the government's not trying to divert this. So we definitely got both agents working against it and agents implanted in with our community. I know so. It's just that mathematically the odds are in favor of it. So do I know who they are? No, but I do make my accusations depending on what I've seen over the last year. I've seen certain people in the community that have been here way too long to not have grasped the simple truths that we know. And that's logical truths, provable truths. You can go out and measure for curvature and you can't find it. I've done it. I proved it to myself. No one can change that. No video can change that. So I advise anybody who hasn't done it to go do it, because that's a foundation fact. Once you get that beneath you, it's really hard for anybody to change that on you. And there's a lot of stuff working against us. You think they just are, the space is one lie. There's a whole bunch of lies. I got some new research I'm going through that's blowing my mind about the music industry and Laurel Valley and stuff. There's a huge amount of stuff about that. And the start of the 60s, all these bands. There's the air defense was up there. They have a center that ran right up to 69. And there's that 1969, the 666 I talk about in dates. That one there, I know the marker years, as I call them, are very important, because just looking back at 1666, that's the London Fire, and that's the birth of the first lodge for the Masonic Rite, coming from Ireland. I'm sure that they got complete control. There's some research we'll be going over at the end of this year in review, because I'm going to step right into going into research videos after that. And the first topic I'm going to take on with you guys is showing you Lucent Technologies. And you're going to be shocked, because Lucent Technologies, once I show you everything about them, you're going to see the connection to our everyday computing. Everything that's done is connected to that company in more ways than one, right up to Trump. And he just got elected. So you guys are going to be shocked when I show you all that stuff. 1980s NASA paper about the airplanes flying over a flat. Yeah, that was actually 1988. It's document 1207. It's a document on the deviation and derivatives of an airplane flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. And that document, yeah, read through the entire thing. I mean, a lot of people just, read the intro and the summary. But you read through it, and with the 6 degrees of freedom and everything is discussed in there, I mean, it is an actual paper-based, or the base work for their algorithms and their math for their flying, the way they're going to set up the computers and that for their airplanes. In that document, you can go hit a link on NASA's site there, and it'll tell you how many documents are based on that document. And there's 2,600 or over 2,600 documents based on that document. So that's a really good proof. I show this one to a lot of people. And it's 1988. Just remember the Winter Olympics in Calgary. Well, that's how I remember it anyway. Right after I found Flat Earth, I stumbled into, someone led me into, told me to go watch The Serpent King. And I have to say that took me a couple of weeks to get through. There's 23, or just over 23 hours worth of research that Marcus does. And Marcus is a Canadian, so it actually really set home with me, because a lot of research that we see is American based. We don't, we see some from Europe and Canada and stuff, but nothing, when it came to Freeman, we didn't have no Canadian research available that opened our eyes to how our documents and everything, because every country we have different documents. So when you're hearing about it down in the United States, we're seeing, oh no, we got possible loopholes here. Canada's different, right? But after watching Servant King and verifying Marcus's work, I completely understand now how that is actually true. And that has changed my life completely. Because knowing that those shackles I can break, and reading through the Bible, and there's some certain passages in Corinthians that I really advise people to read Corinthians. I find the Bible's built with some truths in it, like Genesis. Like when I'll tell you a little story about the Bible actually. When I was first coming into Flat Earth, another big life changer was going out to 4 churches. And because here I am, I'm, coming in as an atheist to find out it's flat Earth. And I'm trying to find out where, there's information, present day people that are got anything closely related to it. And here I see with Genesis, with the firmament, everything makes sense there, right? So I want to go and talk to some preachers because I have never done that in my life. And I want to see what their opinion is. And I went to 4 churches, and to my surprise, not one of those preachers wanted anything to do with discussing even Genesis in depth, nor even listen to me about the evidence towards flat Earth to document that could be true, which I think that any preacher, it's like anything that verifies the Bible should be something that I would get excited for if that's my sole profession in life. I mean, if my life is based on that book, wouldn't you think that any kind of evidence to prove it real would be something you would grab onto right away, or at least go and explore? But I was shocked. I went to 4 different denominations, and all of them pretty much had the same story, and basically turned me to science for the answers to Genesis, which it blew my mind. That was another life-changing thing. So those 2 things right away. And then since then, just a shitload of research and connecting the dots. I've connected a lot, actually. I can prove a lot of things now. Exactly where they're even documenting some of this or faking some of this stuff, especially in the past. They're sloppy in the past. I advise anybody, if you want to research, go the 1980s back, because they weren't as good back then at hiding the truth. Yeah, and you know what? There's another video. This guy came out. I'm going to do a video on him. He's trying to debunk this by saying that they actually planned a course through the Van Allen belts, where they would get a minimum amount of radiation, that they only spent 3 hours out, 3 hours coming in, going through them. And then he goes into a bunch of jargon between that. It's a different type of radiation because they're particles, not waves. Now, I just released a video that we'll get to eventually about that whole quantum physics and the whole debate on particle or wave, or if it's both. But it was quite interesting that it's almost like they're reaching for straws right now, throwing out everything. They're trying to dilute it with even, it's like right now, I think the war has gone to a point where now all they can do is dilute the market with as much flat Earth stuff as possible that hopefully discredits the entire thing, because just like Flat Earth Society did, if you put some truth there, but then put some insane thoughts behind it, people aren't going to look into it. They're not going to spend any of their time researching it. They'll make a decision. A lot of people decide on a book on its cover right away. I mean, so if the cover has no importance to them, or they don't believe in what they see, they're not going to get into the book. And the tactics used are to stop people from opening the book. That's plain and simple. So we got to really try to, and I was bad in the beginning. I'm trying to get better at making videos. So, I can even see my mistakes now. I shouldn't do it like that or whatever. I'm trying to present it, but I'm also never done videos. So I'm trying to get around these copyright things too. And, learning as I go. So, but anyway, I think I'm rambling on there. But anyway, it's good that you brought that up because it just reminded me of that video I'm going to debunk. I got to work on that. That 9/11, where is it here? That 9/11 was an inside job. Oh, yeah, it definitely was. There's a lot behind that too, symbolically. I mean, they got the one tower there now, and it's the One World Observatory at the top of it. Like, there's a lot in that, guys. Oh, black goo. That goes way back too. There's a lot of stuff, pre-programming on that. I can remember an old, I think it's a 70s flick, The Blob, as a kid, and it's interesting. And then you see it in, the X-Files and stuff like that. So wonder what's behind that. That's almost getting fringe though. It's hard to get into that stuff because black projects are black projects, right? The government ain't gonna release that information for a while until they've actually got it all in place. The only time they'll completely reveal a plan, in my opinion, is once the plan's done. Yeah, stop watching TV. Actually, the one thing about this, changing diet. If you look into Monsanto's and the whole food industry, that's a hard one. You gotta almost grow your own food. Stop watching TV. And I blessed that I wasn't a big TV watcher. Why I might have woke up. And you kind of think back when you wake up, it's like, what's different about me than my friend? I have a good friend of 40 years. And I tried to present this information to him. And I've been trying since I woke up. And he just refuses it. But he's a big Star Wars and Transformers collector, like vintage stuff. And he's so wrapped up into that. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to explain. I'm sure you guys know what I'm feeling, because I'm sure you have a friend that you've tried to wake up and they totally took it the wrong way, and now it's actually caused friendships, right? So yeah, that was blue goo or black goo was before flat Earth. Geo Jedi, that's a great video. Yeah, lots of false flags. I definitely a lot of people give Russian vids a lot of slack, or flack, I should say. But I actually think he's one of the better guys to jump to right away to at least get some coverage on when a false flag happens. He's pretty quick at getting and seeing some of the relationships. I constantly send him stuff too when I see it, to like the German one. I sent him some stuff on. I mean, it was the 33rd year of that mall. I mean, the anniversary, and it's on 33rd Street. So it's just crazy. It's like, how do they orchestrate this? I almost when I'm walking around that, I'm just looking for that. And if you're, I won't get into that. That just goes down so many different roads. But anyway, the false flags, Russian vids. I try not to waste too much my time on that because there's so much other research I'm in. I'd love to get into it because they're easy to disprove. But Russian does a great job. Just follow that guy. No new discovery since learning flat Earth. Well, unless you've looked into I don't know if I think there's a lot of misdirected stuff when it comes down to that Freeman, and that it actually boils down to a lot more than that. It's more of your soul, or what they steal from us right away and take our land. Like when think about it, as a life being brought into any kind of existence, you have a right to live, meaning that you have a space, right? Every animal has a space that it lives. You don't see ants paying mortgage, you know what I mean? I don't know. Just some ranting there. Fabricated history. I worry about this. The victors always, print history or make history. Especially in the past, we got to look at the fact that our forefathers, well, even when I was younger, we couldn't communicate this fast. I had a great grandmother behind the Berlin Wall that I used to pen pal, and it would be months between receiving our letters back and forth, and it's interesting. Actually, I come from a German heritage too, just to let you guys know. When I was a kid, my grandfather, and he was a pilot in the war, and then at the end of the war, was a captain of one of the airports and had a prison camp that he was in charge of. But when after the war, they had to serve, every officer had to serve a certain amount of time and stuff like that. It's all part of the surrender and what have you. And when he's walking into the prison camp, because they were actually imprisoned in their own camps, they had a sign from his hometown, which was actually adding up all the Germans that had died in that town, and was brought to that camp and put there, and saying it was the other way around. And I'm not going into the whole thing, and I know other people have, but I'm just letting you know with history, I can remember my grandfather, another thing he says, don't trust the movies, and I always thought that was weird as a kid because I thought movies were great, but, I think now back to that, that's my living relative, and who can you trust better than people that are in your family with firsthand experience? So just letting those out. I don't know what happened then. History to me is so hard to look back into, because unless we know someone that's actually still alive to confirm what has happened, we are living out of books, we're living out of videos, we're living out of stories, movies. You think about it. I mean, where's the truth? Is it in a movie, in a video, in that book? Like, which book? Where is the truth? And that's the hard thing, because when you go, say you look in the Bible for truth, and there's people that say that's not truth, and they argue against you. And then there's two sides, and it gets into an argument. Same with videos. You put a video, you can post a video of something, and no one's going to ever believe it because they know it can be doctored. There'll always be people to argue it. So there's no proof there. And, people say you can't research on the internet. Well, it's more credible to go to a library where it's just books from people that could be lying to us too. Really, I mean, the internet and the library are no different. There's a lot of fake websites and that, but isn't there the Inquirer newspaper, which is, we all know it's just bogus. So, I mean, we see the same on both sides, so it's no different, so fabricated history. I know there's a lot of fabricated history. The one thing I said, and I think it helps with the research, is you follow what. The one thing I noticed with them is their egos will not let them let go of their history, so, and their traditions and what they like to do. So the best way to research is follow their history. So what we got to expose is you're going to be exposing them. And it's a great place to do research. Some nights it's scary research, because I find stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this just can't be right. But you make the connections and you start doing the research and you start to see all this stuff, and it's like, no, this is exactly what it's all about. I mean, it's undeniable, and now I want to present it to you guys. So through videos and that, hopefully get it across. But you guys are, especially the newer stuff, and that leads right to the president now too, is really freaking me out. But I'll show you guys that coming up in future videos. But you can start looking at it right now. Just go research Lucent Technologies. But anyway, I'm ranting again. Let's go on here. Everything crumbles after flat Earth crumbles. How much? Yeah. As far as all the other lies, yes. You can see, I found that flat Earth gives you eyes. It's almost scary, because you start to see things that before you never recognized. Like I was watching someone's video, and it's the Eurythmics. Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. If you can, go pop that video up quick and just watch the official video, and how it enters. She points up, and Sweet Dreams Are Made of These, and she's pointing up at the Earth, So, and that was right in front of our eyes back in the 80s. And I'm like, I can't believe I didn't notice that back then, but now you can see that. You can see it once you wake up. So, and that's how I have a hard time with people that have been around for a long time that haven't seen the plain truth, because to me, it's too apparent. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. Maybe some people just see it easier. I don't know. I just think it is easy to see, because it's pretty logical. And once you do your test, like I said, go out and measure a lake. Go find a lake. It's worth the drive if you're not near one. Go, and the best way to get the light to come across, the best experiment I've seen as far as getting a good light source is use a tilted mirror on the shoreline at the one end of the lake that you want to measure from, and go, your distance away. However, it's good to get as much distance as possible, and on a nice sunny day, so you can get that bright light, and especially with sunlight, because it's a stronger light, so you're going to get a more concentrated shine off of it. And then you can put your camera right down at the beach and see that light, or the mirror that's right on the beach, and just use a small mirror. Like, don't use a big huge one. You only need like a 12 by 12 mirror, and you'll see that light right across, which would be impossible otherwise. So it's a good test. I really like it, because once you see that, it's flat. There's just nothing else can beat it. They got to start proving some mathematics to me right now and prove the curvature before I go back. Or fly me up to space and let me see it. One of the two. Something's got to be done before I ever concede that it's a globe again. Because to me, I can't find the evidence. Yeah, by the victors always. And Jesus, I tell you, with the 33, and that, like, I watch, and Zeitgeist is if anybody hasn't seen that, it's worth a watch, even though I believe that it is almost controlled opposition in a way. I'm not sure. It's really hard to peg that one, because I watched it before I got into Flat Earth. And the similarities between Jesus Christ, the resurrection, stuff like that, and the sun rising at the winter solstice is just undeniable evidence to me that the story is based on something else. And seeing this, another thing, researching religion, you got, the religions are arguing over what Messiah is, the Son of God, not that there's a God. And that kind of really irks me a bit, that we have religions that are, the only problem they have is that they're believing that there's a man that's the savior, besides the actual self-evident creator that you have inside you that nobody can see, except for it's evident around us by the trees, birds, animals, us, everything. You know what I mean? So I believe Jesus Christ walked as a man, but as a man. They didn't even actually start writing about Jesus, and the story comes like this, and this is how I understand it, is that Jesus's brothers actually thought he was crazy, and that was what pushed Jesus to go to the city. They want him, basically it came down to, you just got to go. And that's when he goes up and gets crucified. So, but then when he comes back and gets resurrected, or not resurrected, but comes out of his grave 3 days later, his brothers see this, so his brothers go and then take up his teachings and go to the church, the Catholic Church or whatever, and start that. And they get killed supposedly over preaching that and not, giving into the powers that be at the time. And that's why they were killed. And the story goes on between the brothers like that. They get killed, but the one person that was their friend continues on that story, which then goes to two other gentlemen. I forget their names. I'm not versed into this. I'm more into Flat Earth. I'm just learning religion right now. But it wasn't written down until those two future people that were recounting the events that came through the stories that were only 2 generations back. But that's the first time Jesus is even mentioned as far as actually getting into writing. And that's John. John was the first one to start writing that down. So that's 2 generations after Jesus, right? And the actual brothers were killed as well before, so it wasn't actually firsthand. So we got to watch that, right? I'm just saying, it's the research. And how is it proven outside man? I still haven't found the proof, my friend. I'm just saying. But I do believe that there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible, because They have to serve their lies with truth, or we won't. I just believe that it's always been like that. There's always the best way to get a lie across is to serve it with some truth. So the Bible definitely will have some, like you look at the one story about that queen, so God gives her the right to go kill people. That just doesn't jive to me for a true story. So I just don't believe the Creator would give any permission to another creation to kill these other creations. I mean, does that make sense? You guys tell me. I mean, really, to me, if any religion tells us to kill the other person, I think that's wrong, right there, right then and there. We're all from the Creator, or God, or the Lord, or Allah, or wherever everybody calls the Creator. We're from them, or from Him, or her. I mean, I don't know if there's sexes up there, but that stuff we'll find out later, I guess, when we die. Yeah, and if you look at the Masons, it's always every part of life. Almost every scientist that we see, music industry as well, big corporations. I mean, you go look, all of them are a part of the Freemasons or a part of some other committees. Like there's the Order of the 300, there's the Bilderberger Group, and these are all well known. You can go; they're easily researchable. Actually, we'll get into it. I'm sure I have a couple of videos. We'll have to stem into that as we go through them. Yeah, and you should get out and go see for yourself. Nobody should trust anybody. Don't trust me. I really, that's what Jaron, and I will always bless that man for that, because that's what kept me watching his stuff, because basically he's not telling me what it is. He's basically just showing me the problems, opening my eyes, because I just took him as faith, because like all of us, we think that authority means to be a part of society, which is the common good of society, but not the way they're running it. It's a common good for these elitists. It has nothing to do with us. If you notice, our cities, streets, everything else, it's always bare minimum. Don't you notice? The only thing that's glamorous in life is what they build, and usually for themselves. They're big towers downtown, Hard pressed to get a little tiny kids' playground in most communities. But they'll put a $10 million stupid piece of twisted art in front of their building that, like, it's just crazy. Our world is loony that way, but it makes sense when you finally find flat earth. Now you can see it just because it's evil. I mean, it's under Satan's control. It's his kingdom. So what would you expect? To me, hell on earth, that statement is more true than what I think, realize. This might actually be our how can I say, like our punishment, and we better learn our lesson, start, treating each other right, learn it while we're here, because maybe that's how you get out and go to heaven. And if you don't learn it, guess what you get to do? Stay here or something. I'm not sure, but see ya. Peace. Yeah, of course, PC. Luciferian too is about self, caring about just the self. It's about greed. It's all about that internal. That's why the New Age religions is all basically Luciferian. Anything that makes you look that you are the center is that, from my research. And this, of course, stems out of the Satanism and paganism. But you got the Quran, and you got the Torah, and you got the Bible. I mean, I'm not going to sit in a room with 3 religious people and find out, they're just arguing whose Messiah is right. You look at the biblical stories, actually Moses did so much compared to Jesus too, Shouldn't he be a good candidate for the Son of Man, or Son of God? Well, it's always, see, they know the truth, right? So it's their, I mean, do you think they would love the lie? Of course they love the because they know it's the truth. I mean, that's one thing I don't think people realize. To them, they're feeding us a truth, or a lie. Do you ever love your lie? No. The lie is something for someone else to get deceived. Satan knows it's a flat world, so do they. So why would they not love or know or was first? Like that's almost an oxymoron question in a way. Not to knock you, Will. I'm just saying that, of course. I mean, they love the truth. They know the truth. They harbor the truth. Hey, Flat Earth Liberation. Okay, so I'll let you. Actually, what I'm going to do is get on to the next video because I'll get caught right into this and I'm way behind. So, because I rant too much. Let's see here. What was the next one on my list? Oh, this one. Todd made this one. Now this is. I mean, this is another one. They're just. How could you have all this equipment, computer equipment, and allow free-flowing water water to get free on the ISS? Like that's just crazy. Would you do if you're up in space? And this is your life support system. Are you going to do anything to jeopardize that? I mean, if you're in a submarine, would you start playing with matches? So let's watch
everything we do with minimal water possible. We have a bag with water, and this is what we use to freshen up. As you can see, not very luxurious, but still, it's enough space for us to do what we need to do. So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity. So we need to be very careful not to spill it. So water is also very dangerous on the space. So water is also very dangerous on the space. So we just put a little bit in our washcloth, as you can see here. And with gravity, of course, and with gravity, of course, and with gravity, of course, you can form nice bubbles and they can float away. So water is also very dangerous on the space. So water is also very dangerous on the space. So we need to be very careful not to spill it.
If you think about it, right? It's getting nice and wet.
I'm embarrassed he's Canadian, but actually I don't even care about that title because that's actually.
I want to make sure for the experiment that it's really soaking wet.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity.
If you think about it, right? Okay.
So we need to be very careful not to spill it.
So I have a soaking wet washcloth here floating in front of me. Oh, there's one ball of water floating around.
One.
So water is also very dangerous on the space
world, if you think about it, right? Put it on the washcloth. Okay.
So we need to be very careful not to spill it.
So here's a soaking wet washcloth. Get the microphone so you can hear me while I'm talking. And now let's start wringing it out.
So water is also very dangerous on the space
world, if you think about it, right? It's really wet.
And you're showing this to a bunch of kids.
It's becoming a tube of water. It looks very cool. The water's running up my hands a little bit. Hey, Tom, can you come grab me a towel, please? I got one on the wall. It's over here by Sivas. So it'd be on the other side of Cebus there, start with one. So the water is all over my hands. In fact, it rings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully, the water sort of has it stick to my hand. The surface tension of the water keeps it stuck to my hand. Next time. Grab the microphone. Okay, so the experiment worked beautifully. And the answer to the question is the water squeezes out of the cloth. And then because of the surface tension of the water, it actually runs along the surface of the cloth and then up into my hand, almost like you had Jello on your hands or gel on your hand, and it'll just stay there. Wonderful moisturizer on my hands. And the cloth doesn't really unravel itself. It just stays there floating like a dog's chew toy, soaking wet.
Water is also very dangerous on the space.
Thanks, Chris. Ali has a question for you.
Hi, Chris. My name's Allie. I'm in grade 9, and my question is, how long does it take to orbit Earth?
Allie, it depends how far away you are. If you think about the Earth orbiting the Sun, it takes us 365 and a quarter days. 364 and a quarter days? Anyway,
He's an
1
astronaut.
year,
Shouldn't he know this stuff?
plus a leap year every 4. And so that's because we're, 93 million miles from the Sun. The Moon takes 1 month to go around the world because it's 400,000 kilometers away. But sort of like a ball on a string, on a long, long string, you can spin it fairly slowly and the ball will stay up. But if it's a little short string, you have to spin it really fast or the ball will fall down. Sort of the same idea in orbit. Because the Moon's a long ways away, it goes around the world about once a month. And our exact altitude here, about 400 kilometers, means we have to orbit the world every 92 minutes. If we were a little further away, we'd go around the world more slowly. If we were closer, we'd have to go around faster. And one last thing, there's one orbit in between the Moon that takes a month. And the space station, which takes an hour and a half, there is an orbit where it takes exactly 24 hours to go around the world, if you think about it, right? 1 month, 90 minutes. There's some orbit, some distance, exactly 24 hours. So if you can orbit at exactly 24 hours around, that means you'll stay above the same place on the Earth because the Earth takes 24 hours to turn around. It's a really valuable orbit for a satellite because you can bounce your signal off it all day. And that's how I'm talking to you, in fact, off one of those satellites.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear to me, especially seeing stuff like that. I mean, when put yourself in those shoes, would you risk that space station to allow water to get away like that? That just blows my mind, and yet you have another astronaut, a Russian one, saying how dangerous it is. So well, and the theories, lots of theories. Actually, you look back and then people argue there's two different types of theories. And that's a conundrum in itself because when you really think about it, it's just that there's accepted by the peer review. So if a peer review of people can come in and say that theory is fact or is close to fact, acceptable fact, then they go off of it. But it's still a theory. It doesn't make it true just because some humans go in there and say it's true. I mean, then we're resting everything on that peer review group, just like everything. I mean, we send scientists up to go take up all these measurements and report back in videos to us, the public, about what's going on for climate, in these remote areas that we can't go to, and half the places are restricted, especially in the northern and southern climates, right, as far as their model. Yeah, they wouldn't tell us if they saw it. See, the thing is their power is always based on knowledge, right? And I think Planet of the Apes movie is almost if you look at just the overall aspect of that movie, you know, it's like the humans, basically the apes are tampered with to get our intelligence, or they're given intelligence, and eventually then they surpass man, right? What if in a way that's the elite's fear right there? We're the apes, you know? And you see that again, that same kind of storyline in Battlefield Earth. I read that book, and actually the book is interesting because I read the book before I actually saw the movie with John Travolta. And the book tricks you because because in the book, of course, you're not seeing what's going on visually. So, but you basically just assume that you're the aliens, and you don't even assume it's Earth that they're talking about. You actually put yourself into the aliens' shoes. And then when you realize that the animal they're talking about is humans, that's where it blows your mind in the book. So, and they couldn't capture that in the movie. But I'm just using that to say that in a way, especially that we've seen that lots in movies, how they, it's very predictive programming, a lot of it. That's why sometimes I wonder when, you know, you get yourself all built up about a movie and you kind of plan it out in your head. You hadn't seen it yet, but you're all excited because of the previews and you have this anticipation of the movie. And then you go there and it's like, what? How could they? That doesn't even make sense. But a lot of times what it is because they actually write the piece around the propaganda they want to get across, and then they design a movie around it, you know, to guise it and sell it to us. You know, Arthur C. Clarke sold us the satellite years before the satellite went up. He's actually he is claimed to be the inventor of the satellite. He was a sci-fi writer, and he is the inventor of the satellite. Like, people, really. I mean, we could see we were making these connections are as simple as a child's book, right? So, and Disney, if you go look, and we'll get into that research, but just on the, you know, cuff, Disney's relationship, you can see it right away at Pearl Harbor. When they were bombing Pearl Harbor, that day when Disney's just watching or listening to it on the radio, or I think he was watching on TV. I have to recall the research, but we'll get to it in one of the videos. He gets a phone call from his studio manager and saying that he has to get down to the studios. The Defense Department wants to take it over. And Disney's like, well, I'll just give him a call. And he's like, no, you got to get down here. They're here taking it over right now. So, and it's well documented that at Pearl Harbor, when that event happened, Disney Studios was converted over to a propaganda machine. And that's well documented. You can go check the research, and it'll be in future videos here. So that point on, they've had Disney Studios. They've never actually said that they've turned it back or gave it back or did anything in contrary to what they did at Pearl Harbor. So we can see where the government got involved there. And then there's a lot of sketchy stuff over with Disney. I mean, you got a man that he had a strike once. His employees are calling him bigot. They were complaining about long hours and stuff like that. And he's more of a slave driver. And he gets into a strike, and the federal government comes in, flies him out of the country down to South America to go do some documentaries. And they go hire a labor union lawyer, a German lawyer, to come in and settle the dispute. And when it was all settled, they flew Disney back up. There you go. All your workers are all listening now, you know, like. And then there's some interesting events with him with Fantasia. He's also the inventor of Optic View. It's layering four planes, again, three-dimensional imagery as well. And I got another footage, an old footage on when they actually first started figuring out holograms. But we'll get into that later too. And yellow screen technology. People say that they couldn't fake it back then. Oh yeah, they could. Mary Poppins, 1967. first movie to ever use it. So yeah, there's lots there, and I'm glad someone brought up Disney, because he's a big player in this. That studio is, as you can see, look who bought Star Wars, right? But Lucas is already in the game too. They're just pulling it all under their one house, right? Or the couple houses. There's 6 major companies that pretty much own everything media related. You gotta watch it. This is just like, there's always a play, like when we'll get to the video on quantum physics, and I'll bring up some points. I'd rather wait to that point, because I want you to watch the video first, and I'll explain what they're doing. And I actually I've been studying quantum physics for a long time. So when I was able to see it with a different set of glasses, that my flat earth glasses, and look back and see where the holes are and why, it makes a lot more sense to go, like I'll show you where the quantum physics is being used against us as well. And it's all about these mind traps. But we'll get to that. And that's kind of boils into everything. Like science is just another religion, just as much as religions have been the trap as well. I think Satan was extremely smart after, say, the Tower of Babel is correct, right? And our Creator separates us all, gives us different speech so we won't work with each other again. Satan is standing there the day after going, how am I going to pull all these people back together again to do my bidding? I mean, his kingdom is broken and shattered. How is he going to pull it back together? So, I don't know. If I were to put myself in Satan's shoes, I'd be like, okay, first I got to get all these different people worshiping one idol. But of course, they can't all be the same idols, because the Greeks and the Asians, if they see that they're worshiping the same idol, that might not jive, right? So they each get their own. I don't know. It's hard to say. Right? This is history. I'm just speculating, but I'm just putting it out there. Like after the Tower of Babel, how did Satan, what was his plan after that? It's not really talked about, but we have to assume that these are Satan's. This is Satan's kingdom. So I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says it's God's kingdom or Jesus's kingdom or any Messiah's kingdom until after Revelations, after everything, the big war. Yeah, definitely. And NASA, and same with I want to say Satan because we're on that word, but NASA and Santa as well, of course. When you start to look into it being such a pagan festival too, the tree, the fallen star. I used to always wonder too, we used to put the star above our tree, and my parents, fallen angel and stuff like this, and it just totally makes sense once you start to realize and figure out that it's one and the same. And what was the biggest thing that Satan could do is deceive the world that Satan doesn't exist, right? How better to do that than to get our young minds to believe in a myth and then shatter them when we're 12 years old saying it's not real. Would you ever believe anything again? You know what I mean? We're set up as kids to automatically disbelieve any myth again after that one, right? After Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny were foiled, would you ever go back to believing anything unless you proved it, right? But then they play on that. So, and I think that's how they got this lie around us, right? And then they come out with science. Really, what is science? Science is supposed to be about going out, creating a theory about something that you think is the way something works, but you're going to have to go out and do the experiments. And those experiments have to be repeatable by anybody. They can't just be a one-time experiment or only done by a certain person. They have to be repeatable amongst everybody, So unless that experiment passes those tests, it should never be accepted as fact. And there was our problem. What we did was we allowed for science to theorize or to come up with theories about everything in life without actually proving it. without actually or allowing us to verify it. In the least, everything that we see, everything that we're told, there should be some government building we should be able to go to in our societies where the experiment is repeatable by us, by our hands, somehow, some way, so that we could prove it to ourselves. But they will never do that, of course, we know. And society's led by TV, just like Nixon said. He said Americans, but I believe the world. The world won't believe it until they see it on TV, and it's got to come from TV media, the news, for most people, in my opinion. You know, it's hard to argue against any religion because there are a lot of stuff that really rings nice. I mean, you look at it's all about, being good. Of course that rings good, but there's lies in it too. And it's the lies that we have to look at too. I mean, you can't just blind yourself and not question that Jesus's whole story represents the sunrise at the winter solstice. I mean, there's just too many similarities in the number 33, stuff like that, and that they're lying to us this much now. Like, look at this. We're supposed to be, as advanced as we've ever been in life as far as what they want us to believe. We're got computers and we're connecting like this instantly. And we're supposed to believe that they didn't have more power to screw over us then than now, and yet we have all this power to see it. Well, now we're able to see it. We're talking, we're able to verify that you can see the moon at the same time I can, which shouldn't be possible in the directions, like earlier on another chat I saw, which would be nice if we can get some concrete evidence that way. Because I believe that if we just all work together, we can bust this with our cameras and some good scientific research. So, but the globe is done. The problem right now is waking up, or not even waking up, because people, I believe, are kind of awoken. They know something's wrong, but we got to get them to care. It's about that they got to care for the truth. It's like a whole bunch of people that just don't care, even if it is the truth. It doesn't affect their life, they think. The Bible's got a lot of good in it. I don't say anybody not go read it, but I also say do your research on everything. And come up with your own conclusions and be self-evident. Try not to take someone's opinion about how it should be. That's not verified or factual. If no one could produce the facts, then go research it yourself and come up with your own belief. But don't take someone else's belief in lieu of just being, reluctant to go look for yourself. Go at least understand the facts that person was based their belief on. Well, you had to make mistakes. We exist. And we definitely make mistakes. So our mistakes must be of the creators, right? But also, there's another thing that actually rang pretty true to me. Is someone put it like this, and it kind of makes sense. How could you have free will unless you have the choice to do bad? In order for free will to even exist, you need to have the duality of good and bad. So you never know. I mean, it's just something I heard, and it's like, how do you have free will if you don't understand evil? Like, if you're just given good, is that free will? It's an interesting debate maybe to get into one day, but it's definitely interesting when I heard it. It kind of made me think a bit. And I really try to refrain from using just God, because there's too many gods, and it's on the bill, which I wonder what God they're talking about. I like the Lord in Heaven is one of my favorites. to try to direct my thoughts to where I'm thinking. He did it. There's no denying Jesus walked as a man. I'll say that because I've researched it enough now that there are accounts right from his brothers. His brothers, I mean, they gutted the one, cut his stomach right open. I mean, these there's just too much evidence that Jesus actually was here. The problem is not that he was here. He wasn't out for the good of people, but I worry that people will be deceived in thinking that Jesus has taken away their sins. And then when you go stand in front of the Creator's like, well, it should have been self-evident. You just have to look to me. Like, why would the Creator anyway get mad at you for believing just in the Creator? Why would the Creator put down a Messiah and only within one group of people? What about the natives? What about everybody else in the world? Weren't they deserving of that message then? Why would the Creator even risk it? So you got to be to me, there's a lot of things you got to be careful of when you're looking at this, because you don't want to pull yourself away from the ultimate truth, which could be that it should just be self-evident. We should know that we're created and that we have a Creator, and that is the only force we have to worry about, because that's if the Creator is the only person we have to worry about, or entity or whatever, because that's who controls us, made us for a purpose, and given free will that there's good and evil. It seems like that's a test then, because it's given us a scale, and we got to work our way through life, and we're going to come on one side of that scale. Maybe we don't know though who was there to write this stuff down. The books don't go back to the creation of the world. Even the stories are all hand-me-downs. I just worry that I don't want to walk into another lie. So unless it makes a complete sense logically and spiritually, I'm not gonna believe it to be the right path. And I'm very careful right now, because to me, we have to be. We all know there's something not right about what's going on, and something's coming to a close. That's the feeling I get. Yeah, well, I'm not knocking what you believe, and if that leads you to the Creator, that's great. I think that's perfect. But don't also go knock the other people, because a native has their beliefs, and I believe theirs are right too. They believe in the Almighty Creator too, even more so than we do in a way, because theirs is about the nature around them as well. It's all connected. I sat with some natives last year at one of they only open it twice a year. It's these ink pot lakes. They all have little tiny different colors. So down by Soyuz, and they are full of minerals. So you go walking out there, and they have stories about after their battles and that, they would go down there with their injuries, and they would heal quickly in that area. And they used to bless the Creator for giving them that healing area. They're like, so, there's a lot of stuff about that. You have to research into all cultures. Don't be naive thinking that you're the only, the superior race, because that leads down a very slippery slope, right? Just saying. But anyway, let's go to the next video. I'm starting to rant. Let's see. Oh yeah, so we get to go up to page 7 now. Where is it here? There we go. Oh, we got to one page. Go through a couple more before I end the stream. Yeah, it's interesting looking back too, because this is so rough. And I would consider myself a very newcomer to the flat earth back then, so I didn't have it all pieced together yet. It was a lot of research to get to where I am right now. Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. Oh, this one, yeah, this is the spin. I worked it all out, and yeah, when you work this stuff out, and Morgal, I kind of took a page off of his video because he worked out, or was showing how the moon going around the Earth, around the sun, and showing that almost the calligraphy art way of how the orbit would be. And, you know, it has to do that long pass on the outside and then the short ones coming in. But visualizing it on the screen like that really helps. So I thought I'd do the same thing with the spin of the Earth. And this is a pretty good video in my opinion. So I'm going to play this one. Earth. I got thinking I wanted to do a diagram to show the different speeds that the atmosphere would be going. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this here is the equator slice. So basically we're looking straight down, top view on the globe model, cut it in half, so we sliced it right at the equator, and this is what we'd see looking straight down. So what I did is we're going to work with the diameter given. From there, I just used pi and worked everything else out mathematically. So to keep this pretty basic and not to get different numbers from different sites that don't correspond with each other. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I took the one diameter from Wiki. It could be a little bit out from the actual. I know they're saying that at the equator it's wider than from pole to pole, but we'll generalize it so that we can figure this out. So I'm going to use the 12,742 kilometer diameter. And the spin of the Earth at that diameter would be on its surface 1,667 kilometers per hour. So half of that, if we're going from the edge to the halfway of it, and that's this dotted line in the center, we'd be looking over here, would be half that speed, because at the axis here, we'd be looking at 0. So that's at 833.5 kilometers per hour. Now, I'll just show you quickly with the calculator how I went about just getting this base speed so you can see the math I'm using. So we're just going to take the diameter of the Earth, we times it by 3.14, which is pi. That gives us our circumference of the Earth. And then we just divide that by 24 hours, and that's how many kilometers it can travel over an hour. So there's 1667 point and then a whole bunch. So I'm just rounding it to the nearest solid there. So let's go forward here. Now I went and got the research. So the layers of the atmosphere go up. We start with the troposphere. It tops out at around 17 kilometers. The stratosphere is next. It tops out at 58 kilometers. The mesosphere tops out at 80 kilometers. The ionosphere tops out at 640 kilometers. And the exosphere tops out at 1,280 kilometers. Now, the highest man-made jumps are in the stratosphere. So just for reference, clouds sit at the top of the troposphere. Just for some references, these upper three layers get into the outer layers that go into space. So this outer exosphere would be considered the outer shell of the Earth, and where the atmosphere reaches the highest with days. So now if we take the same calculation, because of course these are adding to the diameter, so we can then double that. So 17 would be 34, we add it to the diameter, and then we can just go and do the times by pi divided by 24 hours, and we're going to get our speeds. So it's not much more, like we go up 17 kilometers, and we're looking at 1,672 kilometers per hour for the troposphere. And you can see here 1680, 1688. As it gets higher, it gets faster, of course, because as they tell us, the atmosphere keeps up to the spin of the Earth. And that's not hard to believe, but that's why I'm doing this. So this next one here, what I did, you can see here this orange line. It's just referred to axis slice. So we go over to the axis slice, and this is cutting the planet straight down the middle from pole to the top, pole at the bottom. We got our northern hemisphere this side, southern hemisphere this side. Now, when we're starting to look at this, I start to lay out how, because they always say that the momentum of the planet's always pushing out, so the gravity pulls us back in, so that keeps us vertical on where we are on the Earth. So let's lay this out. So now, first of all, we got to understand that the axis, though, goes straight through on this plane. So this axis is 0. It doesn't, it's at 0 kilometers an hour. It's where everything spins from, right? So that is our center point to this, to figure out some speed. So if we look at, see, this is the equator speed, and that was at 1667. So halfway from there to the axis at the North Pole, we should get roughly a speed of 833.5 kilometers an hour. Now, be mindful that that speed would actually occur if we drew a straight line through here. That speed should actually technically be back here. What I'm going to do is just forego the extra calculations to show the extra amount of speed it would require to be out here on a sphere, just for this demonstration, because we don't really need to be do that extra calculation to show that this doesn't really work out. So we got that speed, which should make sense. 0 halfway to its maximum would be its half, and likewise. And if you're standing here, like they said, everything above you should equal out to that ground. So in theory, that line should travel out in all these atmospheres, staying steady with that point on Earth. So if we divide every speed in half, these are the speeds we're getting. Now, this starts to pose a problem. Like here, we look at the halfway mark coming back, say for the speed to the outer shell going on a 45-degree angle away from the equator mark. And we're getting 416. Now, I'm going to bring up another picture here where it works more. Now, if we take and dot that line across through the Earth, and you'll see here, what I did is I'm just going to use the upper axis here. So half of that, 0 to its 1,000 here at its halfway marker from its 2002 down here. We got 500. You can see I marked up. So 750 and 250 would be the halves of that. Pretty logical. I mean, and then we look at where the 416 is, and this is rough. I mean, this isn't exact, so I could, admit that this isn't to scale to the point where we can just refer off of our visual here that that's the intersection. But what I want to make clear here is that at this point, the speed is referenced for it to make its circular path this way, because remember, we're looking at the side view. So this axis is 0. It spins from left to right along this dotted line. Same with this point to this point, and it returns to this point to this point. So you get my drift there. It's rotating around there. So that's the speed measured from here to there. Not this blue line. It doesn't work like that. So the speed doesn't travel up to there because this is always 0. So when we look at this further, we can see, let's put in some more marks here. Now I put this purple dotted line at the end to show, from the axis here to here, we calculated that at 2002 on the previous slice. That was the top view to show how fast this outer layer must be going to keep up to the surface layer. So if we dot that line out, because if this is 0, any distance from there to here, so if that's 2002, from here to here should be also 2002. So this dotted line represents the maximum speed. So from the axis, this line should be the 2002 kilometers per hour. So all that centrifugal force is going in one direction from this line to this one. And same this way, the opposite. I'm just working on one side here. But you get the point there. That if the force is working this way, then these speeds this 500 should stay steady right through. So if we're looking at this 416, can't be halfway in. It should be more up here, closer to our 500, which, it's coming through my ground speed there at 833. Now, we start to see this, like if you start to look at these angles, no matter if this model is exact or close to being exact, it's exposing these angles of forces that aren't playing into reality. So if you're standing there and you got a force working down and one working up to make you feel like you're standing vertical, then how would the centrifuge or fugal force work when it's all pushing to the east or to the west, pulling you off? So it's going to make you want to slant towards the equator. But take a look at this. So what I did is I laid out this centrifugal force coming across, and that's the force of the spin working outward east to west, because it's not working north to west or north to south, because that's zero. Our force is working outward from the axis of the planet's spin. And you can see here, as we come down, it just happened to roughly line around Tropic Cancer and Capricorn, is the barrier of the speed of sound, where our speed, and this is quite remarkable, we can go from 0 all the way up to the speed of sound, break it, and for the equator and the area between the two, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, is above the speed of sound, as I've graphed it out here. Now, what I do is I took some dotted lines here to represent roughly how the gravity is working back towards the center of the planet to keep everybody on as far as they're saying. Now, when you're looking at this, logically, this does not make sense. To me, I just cannot see how, at this line, especially where the sound barrier is broken, how we don't see a phenomenon of one sort or the other of the sound barrier, a physical thing being broken there. What's quite interesting is that actually investigated further about this, and I'm going to play some videos here. One is from Mythbusters. There's been an argument about how planes, how they aren't affected by the spin of the planet. So if they take off against the spin, they should never reach their destination if they're near the equator, because they're actually, the spin of the planet is faster than the plane traveling against it. Now, a lot of people have argued this, saying that it's relative to the ground speed and all this, but Mythbusters, this video I'm going to show you, is going to show you proof in favor of the fact that planes cannot fly and gain distance working against the speed of the planet. So watch this, and we'll talk.
Feeling that we are very close to a perfect demonstration. We're going to see that ball drop.
With the forward and backward momentum matched as close as they're going to get it, the pressure's on Grant for a perfect release.
I don't know about you guys, but that looked pretty good to me. Let's check the high speed.
It really looked good to the naked eye, but the judge in this case is the high speed.
Oh my God, it's like a cartoon. It's just in the air, it stops, and it just falls.
Look at that. Fantastic. I mean, look, it doesn't move at all. It's going straight down.
Woo! We did it! We did it! Yeah! Vector addition! Woo! We canceled out velocity!
After 3 days of suffering, that single shot brings the myth to an end.
I can't be happier. We actually got the speed of the car to match the speed of the soccer ball, and we got a perfect straight down drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, the laws of physics are still hard at work.
I love physics. Yeah, so, and especially in that Mythbusters little example there, people might want to argue it or don't understand it, but when you have like the Earth, you got to consider is that truck. So the truck's moving at the spin, and then the plane takes that off of it is that ball. So you can see that that ball will stay station, like the air isn't traveling with it. The truck has got some air following it. It didn't even push the ball at all. You know what I mean? It's so people got to really see that the physics is proving to us too there is no spin. I mean, and they slipped unless this is a part of their releasing to the public some truth. But to me, that experiment there proves that the Earth is not spinning. Plus all those speeds, like I was saying, you got centrifugal force working away from the center of the axis of the planet from pole to pole. That's an equivalent force working away from that pole out. Well, the pole is right through from top to bottom in their model. So that's an equal force, unless you're going to come out and say it's got changing forces within itself, which that isn't true. And then you got this weak force, they say, the weakest of all forces, able to come in and, you know, ever change and keep people onto this spinning sphere. When you really think about it, it's lunacy to even consider it. I mean, you're trying to say there's the, you know, then I like how they say it too, invisible force, you know, and that the fact they have LIGO prove a gravitational wave. Yeah, come on. I have a lot of problems with that. How they say they seen two black holes collide, or knew of two black holes that collided 60 billion light years away or whatever. Like, people should be asking the very first question, how did you guys even see two black holes when you say you can't see them? You know, what, they're looking at the bending of light around these areas and have to presume that there's something there? And if they're just presuming, how do they presume that's a black hole? You know, so there's, yeah. And the fact that it's called LIGO, like, come on. It's almost like mockery in plain sight. But when you really look at some of it too, you know, you ask why these researchers would lie. Well, a lot of people don't realize they put a false positive into the system, you know, a year prior. And they actually allowed the scientists there to even do up their papers, which that's costing them money. They're on payroll, being paid per hour. And they actually let them go 2 weeks of putting their papers together when they finally came out and said, no, sorry, we did a false positive. So if they were able to trick their own scientists like that, you know, just 2 or 3 of them kept that lie for 3 weeks. You know, had the whole place thinking they had found it. So say, you know, people saying it can't be done. Well, there's proof that it can be done, documented. Yeah, and you know what, guys, when it comes down to Jesus, I would, you know, I don't think Jesus, if he would be standing here today, would want you arguing about himself. So I would almost think about that for a minute, because what would Jesus want you to do, right? Would Jesus, you know, condone you trying to push him onto someone saying he's the only way? Would Jesus really say that, or condone it if he was standing here right beside you? Just think about that, okay? Because really we shouldn't argue about our beliefs. What we should be finding out is why they're lying to us, and to remove the lie. I think we have some work here to do. We shouldn't be arguing over what belief you have that makes you a good person. If you're a good person, then it should only matter that you meet another good person regardless of their beliefs, because obviously those beliefs are in line with your own. You know, I don't think the Creator is going to judge us too hard with such a deception. And if this is Satan's world, I'm pretty sure he knows what we're going through. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be a little lenient when it comes down to us being deceived. You know, like it's not like this is a test where you have to get A++, in my opinion. I just think that you gotta, and the natural people who have good hearts are gonna figure this out. Like, I've always wondered actually in my life why I'm always this good-hearted person. I can't walk past a person on the street and not give him whatever I have in my pocket. I just feel that I just can't do that. It's not in my heart. Yet I have friends that ridicule them and would rather pour, you know, their Slurpee over top of them or something. You know, I'm just using that as an example. And totally take the total opposite approach, you know. So think about that, you know. Let's not argue about the religions. Let's start trying to figure out, you know, some of the core moral values that we have and how we are like-minded that way, and and can create a world that works under those values. If we can, which I don't know if we can. I think this is actually, the Bible scares me because it's almost like it's a prophecy to what's just about to happen. And it's scary because a lot of things seem to be coming true in that book. And that's making me really consider. And that's why I say there's truth got to be in there, because there is some stuff that's undeniable that has happened in the last, since the 40s, that book is nailed 100%. And that's coming from a researcher side. And you guys already seen how much I've already tried to, make you question what's in that book. So you know that I'm not trying to favor this book. I'm just saying that there is a lot of truth in that book too. Like I said, Corinthians rings so true to me, some of the stuff that is mentioned in there. And I would say, like, if I could, I would have a little Corinthian book always in my back pocket, because there's stuff in there I like to always tell people, because it rings so true to what we're going through right now, but I also believe that there's not just Christians that are good. I believe there's good people everywhere. It can't just be one belief structure is right. That's like saying that America is only right and the rest of the countries are wrong. Does that make sense? In the end, we're all man. It doesn't, God's the one who separated us for a reason. It was his choice to change our skins, and our speech and everything else, and separate us across his creation, foiling Satan's plan. That story rings true to me just because it makes sense. Like there's something about that just really rings true about the Tower of Babel, and especially that we have Babelfish and all this stuff that plays off of it in our paradigm right now. There's some importance there, besides just it thinking it was a myth. So, and this, and I've been, that No Forest stuff that came out too, that's very interesting research. Living in the mountains, I'm blessed to be able to go walk and study the stones and that. And I have to say, I'd really love to dive into it, but I don't know if there's any, even if it's true, that one there is a truth that we can just put on the back burner for a bit, because I don't think that's something that it's forefront and most important to know right now. But there is some definite weird stuff about our rock structures. I've always kind of questioned it, some of the stuff I've seen actually. And then if you go over Google Maps and take a look across the world, just sit there for an hour and zoom into Saudi Arabia, places like that, like where there's deserts, and look at some of these just by itself, perfectly round. Like blows your mind. You start looking around, and when you have the knowledge of that could possibly be a tree, it makes you think. I almost was thinking that, wonder if the Earth itself in its full glory, from North Pole to Outer Rim in a way, the Antarctica Rim, the ice wall, is the Garden of Eden of past in the book. And we weren't kicked out of it. It was kind of destroyed on us, and we're living in the remnants of the Garden of Eden, I don't know. Again, this is speculation, so don't go and make a assumption that I believe that 100% that this is this way, because anything that I can't prove, to me, is only speculation. But like I said always too, is that right now the biggest thing is exposing the lies, because that is fact. We can expose a lie. The footage is there. It takes research and then connecting the dots. Lucent Technologies, if you go Google that, get into the wiki, start looking at everything. Like, for example, Lucent Technologies, you'll find if you just go jump right to the building, which is, they were at 666 Fifth Avenue or something in New York, but 666 is the building number. The building is owned actually by the family of the husband of Ivanka Trump. Trump's tower is just down the street from there. So, it's a full right away I circle back, but there's a lot within Lucent Technologies. You go there and you'll see they even in the wiki article talk about how they got. There was accusations of the name with Lucifer and stuff like that. They also, you go through the research and you'll find out about, that's Bell. That's like your telephone giant communication center in a way. This is the new technologies. They're basically the birth of the internet code, because Unix and even the binary code, the unifying code, the AC II or whatever, is born out of that unification. When the government went to make or actually mandated by 1969 that all government computers had to be running underneath this code to unify them on the internet. Go look at it. It's crazy. So right now, every one of our computers are connected by this. They have that control. It bursts out of that laboratory. It's amazing. You go look at all the connections that way. Like I said, the research really opens your eyes, to where everything is. Just like if you go look at the music industry, you're going to boil it all down to that valley in Hollywood. And that is freaky. You go research that area with the naval base that's up there. That's basically the footage from even Trinity, the very first atomic bomb, was supposedly rushed to that center. And that's where they did the photograph, or made the movie, the film for them that we see today, that we can pull up the archives on. So, and it's a big studio, and that's actually where it's called the Mansion. Like even Jay-Z has used it to record his newest albums and stuff like that. It's a very popular spot. A lot of interesting stuff around there. Very freaky information. But you'll see that all your big bands out of the 60s came out of there. I mean, it's right beside a naval intelligence photograph place or whatever. But it's research I'm still working through right now, but when we get to it, I'll have a lot more information once I dig a little bit deeper on some of the stuff in it. But if you want to get a head start looking up that stuff. Jesus was a flat earther. He knew. He saw all the kingdoms of the world from a mountaintop. So, of course, he's a flat earther. Yeah, well, you know what? There's I was looking, and there's a new, and it's always interesting because the Russians have a trip going to the North Pole. 40,000 or 30,000, I think, is the cheapest ticket. And the first voyage is this March or April, if I recall right. Now, if it's a true voyage or not, I'm not sure. What we've seen in the past, and I've noticed this, is I've documented a few of these sites that have popped up and then disappeared. And that's another proof in itself, guys. I've found sites where there's been stuff listed for trips, and then suddenly a couple months go by and that site is gone. So I got a whole bunch of stuff that way, but I'll probably do a video on that. But this Russian one is interesting because they got where they are saying they'll take you right to the North Pole. So that'll be interesting. See what comes of that, because I expect them to have some good footage then if they go up there. Yeah, but you know what is, I don't trust that everybody that's been in flat earth has been honest about it. I mean, like I said, you got to go back and understand, put yourself in their shoes. Would you allow the truth to hang free as an apple to be grabbed by anybody? Come on. Let's not, never assume your enemy is that stupid. Like, come on. I actually, the way I look at it, the intelligence behind this lie is far more superior than my own. So I always come at it with that humble type of research, because it's the only way you're going to figure it out for yourself. and to help out others. I mean, I've presented some really, let's look back at that NASA document from 1988, document 1207. That in itself should be proof enough. Or that ESA footage I showed in the last video or last night's stream, where they dropped the Earth layer. I mean, shouldn't that be evidence enough? So again, what is the problem here? Well, what evidence do we need to come forth with? So that's where I believe that let's just keep researching. If I need to connect every dot in that child book for you to see the picture, okay, let's keep going. There's only got to be a couple million dots to connect. So I got nothing better to do with my time right now except for to dismantle this lie. So let's go back to go and see what the next video. Actually, the next video is it's a pretty fun one. It's not research. All it is having a little bit of fun. I was saw this girl I was looking at some skydiving footage and saw this one, and her look made me think that how I felt when I was, wrong one. Oops, go that way. But how I felt when I woke up, or how people wake up. So I'm gonna go back here. Yeah, this one. So what if waking up? But this one here is like, it's a good one. It should remind you how you wake up or how some people wake up, you know? So we'll give it a watch. Imagination.
I am. Any last words for your friends and family? I love you. All right, we'll see you up then.
every day.
All right, we'll see you next time. Skadashis.
Well, and I hope over time that we get to that catalyst where we have enough people that have looked at the research, because eventually it's going to break out. The one thing that I know that will not happen is flat Earth is not going away. I definitely, personally, there's got to be some evidence presented by the scientist right now, in my opinion, and it's needed, because if it is true about the globe and we've all been deceived, they should be coming out and showing us that. The fact that they even let us do without the evidence, when it's clear that NASA has proven nothing with their CGI or doctored photoshopped images of any proof of the globe that way. And we can't rest it that way. It's got to be unbiased too. When I can go out as an individual and measure and do mathematics taught to me, and I went all the way through the school system. Even actually, I was a matric student, especially when my Math 31, extremely good with math. And I can't figure out or find that curve. That's garbage. They have a lot to answer to. And then plus being caught in blatant lies too really drives me nuts. Finding out, like, I've been watching over the year, Bill Nye, the science guy, all this footage. I've watched hundreds of hours of this idiot trying to research him and see through this this actor, in my opinion, because that's what he is. And and I just found out not too long ago about him he's not even a scientist. He's actually an engineer. They found him at Boeing. And Boeing, who works tightly with NASA. So, these are obvious, and this is researchable. But it's hidden, you got to do the work. Like, it almost took me a year of doing hardcore research to find that about him. Although, if I isolated all my research on Bill Nye, I probably would have found it sooner. I kind of grouped him up into the Tyson and all the other guys. I have a big panel, Carl Sagan and everybody else. I have to look at all their material over the years to see and dissect these lies. So, because I need to know. I'm a type of person, I don't like being lied to, and I like to know the truth. So we'll get to it, that's for sure. Actually, and there's so much evidence. You'll see by the time we get by these 230 videos in our channel where I am in the research and why I'm so confident in saying where I am, and it's a flat Earth. And if you can't see that after all these videos I show here, then I really don't know what to say to you, except for that's where I start to push you into the suspicion of being a part of that controlled opposition. Because how could you not see it? Are you really not looking, or what? Do you care? Because you know what? I think the Creator is woken us up because he's making us care. We are being made to care. That is the people that are awake. That's why we feel a longing. I feel this. I hate speaking publicly. As you could tell, I'm not the greatest presenter. But I have an urge, and I've had friends tell me, why'd you even do it? So what? Well, I care about people, but I can't stop. I can't stop looking for everybody else. It's not even for myself. I pretty much know in my head what's, from all the research I've read through and everything else, I have a pretty good picture of what's going on. I just need to get all the T's crossed, I's dotted on a lot of the stuff I have been researching. I just got to go a little bit more in depth to make sure it's provable in court, the human court, man's court, in front of God. And it's, I hate that people are pushing flat Earth as it's only from Christians pushing this or something like that. Actually, and it's interesting because I've seen Christians argue that the Bible is not a flat Earth Bible. it's confusing because you get attacked not just from one side, but you're getting attacked from like 5 different ways from Sunday. And it almost makes me push harder, though. The more I find people ridicule and start to just use slander, like every day I must delete about at least 15 to 20 comments off our channels. Not just ridiculing me, but ridiculing other people that have commented on my videos. And I find that disgraceful. I believe that we all have free speech, but we don't have free speech to slander people. I'm not here to slander people. I'm here for the truth. There's people that have done wrong. And if they admit they do wrong and come out and try to change their ways, to me, I'll offer them that, It's not for me to judge anyway. It's the creator's job to judge. We're just here to learn something, and it's not about just working our entire life and having a couple of years to enjoy a retirement if we get it or not. I don't see, that can't be the purpose of life. We all know that. Why is I don't even know how to put this part, but there's a reason why they tell us not to talk about politics, religion, and money, because they're the three that are used in a way against us. And we got to be really discernive on everything that we take in. We're so trusting as humans, as man. We look for the good all the time. We want to believe in good. I've always wanted, when you watch a movie, you always want the good ending, don't you? So I've always disagreed with too, that people say that we are naturally violent. If we're naturally violent, then why did we come together into tribes to begin with? If we're naturally violent, shouldn't we all just be isolated then in our little private families? So that's something to, chew on a little bit. Yeah, absolute truth. Exactly. Then again, there are certain truths we can't possibly know. I'm sure there's the story of the creator. How's the creator made? Stuff like that. There's undoubtedly stories we can't possibly know. And how far we can know the truth depends on how well the record was kept. Time is used against us in all different fashions, right? Time's used against us in our past, and time's used against us in our future. Time's something we don't got a lot of, and time is something that a lot of people just throw away. But it just depends, I guess, how much you value your time. Are you going to make your time valuable, make every moment count? Or are you just going to take your moments and waste them away? They put enough stuff in front of us. That's why it's such a materialistic world in front of us. Everything is meant to pull your time, right? Waste your time. The only good time is, in my opinion, when you're either gaining intelligence over your reality, and which brings you closer to nature, in my opinion. I've actually, since finding Flat Earth, I've found a very deep connection now with my environment. I feel at one with the environment, I feel I feel a lot more close with animals and just life and everything. So that's another thing. Someone was asking earlier about what Flat Earth changed. That was another thing. Just waking up to that presence around me, the creation, because we are the part of the creation. So, be foolish to think that you're not a part of it. All right, we're a part of it. We share it, We're cut off from each other from it. Actually, I think about it, and I long for a lot of times. I'll hear a song, and it drives you back to your past, right? And I'm over 40, so I'm talking back into the 70s and the 80s. And I remember a time when, you know, it was just a lot nicer, you know. And it's interesting that when I look, everything good was almost in the past. And it's just gone shittier every year since that moment. We've gone more disconnected. Like, I remember when I was a kid, we used to go around carol to our neighbors. Like, where'd you even hear that these days? I remember knowing almost everybody on our street for all the way out to the main street. Must have been about 100 families. So nowadays, hard pressed that people even know the next door neighbor. You know, I think in a way we're being cut off of each other, which is tampering down on that connection that we should be naturally experiencing that brought us together to begin with. And but whatever. I mean, people will feel it, find it, I hope, in their hearts, in their souls, especially their souls. And I hope the people that are have alternative agendas to this, and they're actually working against us, I hope they go and really evaluate themselves, because it's not the physical reward is not worth losing your soul. I'll tell you that. And then I know that. That's the message. That's the biggest message I can spread out there. If anybody's trying to hinder it and knows they are, really think about what you're jeopardizing. Because it is about your spirit here. It's not about the physical world, that's for sure. You think having a Ferrari and a mansion and all that is the best in that life offers? Like, it isn't. Meat's another thing. That's a whole subject I don't even know if I want to go into. Didn't really. Yeah, research, it stems in so many different directions, because if you look, Cargill is a huge, massive company, and that is the company behind all the food stocks as far as grains and meats and stuff like that. So the dome, the firmament, I totally, like, to me, Genesis, when I came into Flat Earth, with some of the evidences, the AE map I know is not 100%, and I think there's many problems in the fact that we're probably not ever given, because if I went and did some research, I should back this up, because there's a point that really needs to be brought into it, is there's, what do they call it? Pilots in the past, especially before the law of electronics, it was, they were trained off of going, they had to plan their routes, but they always did it in using charts and flat maps. And then they get their deviation from the magnetic deviation. So they get 2 degrees this way, and then the plane itself would have another deviation to push that up. But when you look at the logbooks in the past and these pilots and the amount of work they have to do to just chart out their path. Where was I going with this? I think I lost my direction on that. Sorry, guys. But where I was going with that information is it really showed me that the map. Oh no, yeah, the maps, the flat Earth and the dome. Okay, so yeah, it really showed me there that there's no verification in the sense that the entire map is right, because they use quadrant maps. So they would actually have more detailed maps from the main map that then they plan from, and then they just get their other measurements from the larger map. And that practice, I'm not sure exactly how it's done, because as we've come through into the professional airlines and that, a lot of that is not public. So I can't just go look at logbooks from Air Canada, so it's quite interesting though, because they flew in such a visual format back then compared to now, but they're also reaching higher heights now. But when it comes down to the map, AE map, is where I'm going with that. I don't believe it's 100% what we see, but I think it's the closest as far as we do have an ice wall around us. It makes sense with the Antarctica Treaty. I believe in Mount Meru in the center. I believe that's where Satan is, if he is here. And I believe in the dome. I believe in the electromagnet. Like if you look at the way, like into Tesla's work, you'll see how the sun and the moon can be playing off of each other to create the energy needed for one to be that hot light and the other one the cold light. Actually, I go into some very interesting moon research coming up here in a couple of videos. And really, I don't see people talking about it, but it was, I was looking at, what could be causing a white light, like self-illuminating light. I hate using illuminating because it's, with the Illuminati and that. And I've seen that word played into some other avenues of life, which really, once we get to those videos, you'll see why, you really don't want to be using that word as much as possible. But, so bioluminescence is from like beetles or light bugs and stuff. And there's a lot of different creatures that actually utilize that. But there's also other properties that self-illuminate, depending on what they're exposed to or pressures that they're put underneath. And we'll get into that. But there's some definite research that I think has been missed by the general community that they should be really looking at too, to explain some of this, because I think it makes sense. But we'll get into it. Futile when it comes to proof. No, it's not a distraction. Futile. No, there's so much proof showing the lies, even more so than 9/11. 9/11, the problem with 9/11 compared to the flat earth is that 9/11, you know what, as a Canadian, when I figured out that and was able to see, because I actually knew, looked into 9/11 lots and was a firm believer, especially once you guys went and attacked Iraq and stuff, going to Afghanistan. I knew something was up. And definitely, we've known it for years that 9/11 is a staged job, if it's by the government or by secret families or what have you. Now that's well known. I think almost anybody in the public who doesn't know that or fools them to think that it actually wasn't done that way, like wasn't an inside job, is fooling themselves. But flat earth isn't here to take that away, because you know what, as a Canadian, I'm waiting for the Americans to stand up for that. It didn't happen here in Canada. Although I care, I can't get up and make a big deal about it, because who am I going to go complain to? If I go down in the United States and try to complain, you know what they'll do to a Canadian trying to complain about your 9/11? Think about that. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out too well. And to be honest, we're all scared shitless of your guys' jails down there. Like, you guys get thrown in for tax evasion. That's crazy. And like smoking a joint or something. Like people have, yeah. But nonetheless, 9/11 was more of a local impacted thing. Just as much as, think about what are you going to do? Go over to London and start complaining about, the false flag and them bombing the train? You're going to wait for the Britons to react, right? So the one thing with flat earth, though, think about it. Flat earth touches there. There's no border stops this information. This information deals with everybody that lives on earth. Right, we got to demand the facts. And we don't look stupid. And you know what makes flat earth look stupid in any which way that I've seen so far is anybody that's either has a different agenda or is a controlled opposition. Like some stuff I've seen come in is you go and look into controlled opposition, you'll see the tactics, and some of them have played out almost like it's a CIA manual. So if you can see a false flag, you should be able to see that we have controlled opposition. Do you believe that the Flat Earth Society is genuine, or do you believe it's controlled? If you believe it's genuine, maybe you should go do some more research, like go see what they believe in, like, and study everybody that's been a part of the society, you know, where it was founded, because it wasn't founded, that's been founded for a while, you know, so go take a look at it. But if you know it's controlled opposition, then you know that that's not the only controlled opposition. Well, I hope you know that it's not controlled, or that's not the only one they would put in. You think they would only put in one avenue to catch people, you know, to try to divert them from the truth? It's always been about diversion. I mean, they worked this hard to get this lie this far. You think they're not going to put more effort to keep the lid down? I mean, I've seen some pretty ridiculous videos coming out lately from NASA too. If you guys haven't noticed, they are trying to, like, they're spending a lot of money, and NASA's spending extra money, I guarantee it, out of their budget to attack the flat Earth lie. You can feel it to their videos. Their new Star Trek series too. I just started doing some new videos on it. It's stupid, man. Like, they're basically coming out and telling you, you know, and really go listen to them. Go research even their word that they use all the time. Nominal. You hear it all the time. Does anybody ever actually go look at what nominal means? You know, like, it's crazy. And it's not even well done. The only thing that almost, I think it's almost maybe a tactic, is that, or maybe like, I forget who said it was, that they're testing to see if they're totally asleep, you know. It's like going in, you put the bear to sleep, but you want to go in there with a stick and, you know, push him a couple times and see if he wakes up. And I wonder if sometimes them throwing out this stuff isn't that stick to us, you know, because they're dealing with billions of people, right? I'm sure we're not a good percentage of that yet. Or who knows? Maybe this has gone out to a lot of people. We don't know. Or maybe I'm actually just talking to a very localized group of people right now that I don't realize, you know, because YouTube has got a great way of isolating anybody's work. Who knows? The internet could be totally isolating us, right? We don't know. It could be all computers talking to each other. We don't know. You know what I mean? That's why I don't trust anybody. Don't even trust me. Go out there and do your own experiments. Yeah. And watch out, because I'll tell you, in my opinion, the more charismatic, the more appealing someone is, would probably lend to being closer to being able to fool you than someone that isn't. You know what I mean? Like, if someone's going to be hired to do a job to deceive people, they're going to find good people to do it. So, and I've seen some pretty good actors out there, and I don't put it past them. Just, you know, I'm not going to point fingers, and I did a little bit, and I'm not going to really put it into the review. I've taken some of the videos down because I saw myself getting off track last year. I was getting mad because at first, you know, when you know it's flat, you know it's a battle, right? So I'm trying to get the information out, and anything that gets in your way, it seems it starts to wear you out a little bit. And I kind of got wore out a little bit last year in the research, I think, and started to really point fingers where I thought we had problems, and I wanted to get them, you know, try to get it sorted out so we can get back on track to researching. So that was my mistake, but I'm only human. I'll admit that every day, and I'm going to make mistakes, because you know what? I've been lied to all my life. So obviously I already made a huge mistake and not double checking everything when I was being taught, which I should have. I wish I was more like me now back then. Like, now I'm when I watch a video, if it's a 5-minute video, it takes me a half hour to get through if they're presenting information, because I will continuously go through it and stop and go check what they're talking about is verifiable. There's facts to it, you know. And as everybody should, you shouldn't just take a video on face value. Do some background check on it right away, you know. Make sure what you're being told is the truth. There's so many people out there trying to divert truth, not just in the flat earth, but in everywhere, in all avenues of the truth. Okay, you can only imagine how much money the governments are spending to be here with us, to control what's being done here, or to mock it, or to divert it, or to overwhelm it, what have you. Because that's why I kind of feel with the videos right now. I'm getting video lists of like a year when I go to my main channel, or like when I just click onto YouTube. This is what I mean. I know how to program in that, but you'll see here. So there's one that pulls up 2 hours ago, and 1 month ago, 2 weeks, 1 hour. Let's see, day, 6 months ago. 2 days ago, 1 month ago, 8 months ago. Shouldn't like this just be all what's coming out in the last week? What's relevant? But I don't know. That's what it used to be like. Now it's all changed. I don't know. A little ripe about YouTube. They're definitely messing with some of the coding. And this chat box really sucks. I have a hard time getting my thing to always grab and tight. Yeah, well, you know what? Until just in the last couple hundred years or so, I think they believe it's flat. Their map is flat. Almost every culture prior to Rome taking it over, pretty much before the Catholic Church got in there, which seems to be what's behind a lot of it. That's why with religion, you got to watch out, because they got a control of it. You can see the paganism inside almost all the religions. So that was just a quick video. So let's just go check one more here. And it's rolling on 10 o'clock, and I'll probably shut her down. So let's see what's coming up here. Scott Kelly. Oh yeah, a lot of people have seen that. He's just an idiot. It was pretty. These guys, they're even bad actors, in my opinion. Angel Falls, Devil's Canyon. Angel Falls, tallest falls. It's within the close to the equator in South America. 1,300 foot drop of water, and the Angel Falls, get this, falls into Devil's Canyon. Quite interesting, the names that they use too. But what's interesting is that if we are spinning, that's close to the equator, so that's above the speed of sound, that water falls straight down for 1,300 feet. Yeah. And I was just comparing it with some water bombers in that one. Actually, I won't play that one just yet. I saw one that passed up here. Where is it here? Yeah, this one here. I really like this one. Now I'll leave it with this one for tonight.
Shadow coming in. Oh yeah, there it is. There's the shadow. Wow, look at that. Here it comes. Oh my God, look at it. Here comes the shadow. Look at that. It's like a tornado. Oh my God, here we go. Here we go. Oh my God. Oh my God. Here we go. Look at this. Oh my God, it's coming. The moon's shadow is coming. It is coming. Oh my God, here it comes. Look at this. I've never seen it like this ever. Only in a plane. The flashes. Oh my God, here we go. Look at it. Oh my God. Whoa. Look at that. Oh my God. Here we go. Oh my God, it's coming right over us. Look at this. Oh my God. Get close. Get close. Don't build the dome. I got the corona. There it is. Time to very speed. Very speed. Going great. Look at that. Corona. Totality. Totality. Oh my God. Look at that. Totality. Oh my God. Look at those streamers. Look at the prominences. Look at that. Prominences. Look at the moon. Red all around. Full shadow. Completely elongated. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that streamer. 7 o'clock. Prominences. 12 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
o'clock. Seamus, look at that, elongated. Oh my God. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Oh my God. Totality. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. Wow. Wow, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that curved shot. Look at that. Look at it coming to light. Oh my God. Yes, right in the shadow of the moon. Look at that. Look at those prominences. You can see them with your naked eyes. Hemisphere. Look at that. Here comes the shadow. It's lifting up. It's going out. It's going out. Going up to the atmosphere. Oh, look at down there. Light. Oh, it's beating. It's oh, there's a flare. Look at that diamond ring. Look at that. Oh my God. Diamond ring. Oh, look at that. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. Look at that. Wow.
Oh, I love this one. You could see right there. The sun causes, and you can go look this up about the green color as well. But you can see the hotspot right below it, because then you can see in the background from the edge of the back of the hotspot where that sun's directly above that area is more clouds that go way off. Now, one thing where people see, they think they see a curve here, and I've went over this in another video, is when you're looking straight ahead, that would be the furthest you can see, correct? So let's say we tie a string from our nose to that point. Now, when you go to look left to right, because that's the furthest you can look, you're going to start to naturally arch. It's going to create a circle, right? All the way around you. We look in a 360-degree circle around us. That's the deception in our perception, as well as with a lot of the density and what they would call a mirage or whatever, where basically the ground and the atmosphere or whatever above from your eye level is going to converge. And because of the distance, eventually it's just, there's no detail left. I mean, there's just nothing. No, people say, well, why don't we see the sun, forever? But then you're presuming that light travels forever, like when you really think about it, you turn on a light in your house, you can see that it's brightest by the light and it gets dimmer the further you go away. It's called the inverse law. I did a video on it that we'll go into later on in another episode. So light itself does have its limitations to how strong it is for how far it is. So obviously, if all the light off of a light would travel forever, then we wouldn't see the inverse law at all. Then why would it start dimming away, right? Especially in such a short space. I mean, we're talking about even lights in our own houses. We can see that, the light only goes so far. Now we're talking about a light source like the sun. It can make a big area, but it's not forever. So the inverse law works there as well, as much as it does on a light in your house. And you can tell. There's no way this is on a globe. And you can tell that sun is very close. Now, if that was the actual moon, not sure, because there's a lot of evidence pointing to the moon being in the same sky during an eclipse. So something else was eclipsing the sun. But I think that's where we see in music and we've seen in history, if they're giving us the correct representation of history, stories about another body being up there that we can't see. So, which could be the Wormwood, Planet X, I don't know. There's so many things going around about that. I try not to get into that because it's beyond what I need. Right now, I want to focus on the lie. And to me, though, I love these footages, though, too, because these reinforce what's going on. You know that you're on the right trail. Because otherwise, how does a sun that's 93 million miles away produce this localized light? And the shadows going, see the shadow on the backside of the cloud there? Let me just show you here another thing I noticed. See light on the cloud? Dark. Dark, light. Okay? See, this should be 101 with anybody who does. I do oil paintings. I did lots when I was younger. Something that I should get back to more to actually probably give me more peace of mind. But this one, not just the fact that, because there's a lot of arguments. I could see the curve, but we just talked about that. But not only that, or the hot spot that we see here. Look at here, like on the clouds. You have the light, like I said, dark, light, all the darks facing this corner. The shadows are all going this direction, you can see, to there. And see the shadows. And light on this side. Same with over here. I've done a lot of looking into the skies too since I found flat Earth, and you always see that it's just impossible. You don't see like any dark spots underneath the sun here. Just on the backside's almost straight. And that's not just perception to see a lot of that. That's exactly where the dark shadow is of the cloud, where the light can't get through. So just some more evidence towards it. And as a painter, I always knew this because you're painting reality. You're not painting what science books tell you. So you're always painting from the eye, and we work off of certain rules. It's amazing. And it's just not possible when you consider that sun then at 93 million miles away. It's just a lot of things we see wouldn't be possible. But great footage in my opinion. And this was Mike, actually. I went on my Facebook and got in touch with him and told him, thank you for some footage. I'm going to use it for a flat earth video. And he liked the comment. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. Just a little bit of story behind this one. I think I actually put a link about that. Oh no, just to the blog, that's right. Because it was on my Facebook. No, that was good footage. Yeah, so it's 10 o'clock. So I'm going to wrap it up, see if you guys have anything you want to ask me before I go. Well, and especially that Chicago skyline one, how does it perfectly recreate those buildings? Like I've seen a lot of mirages. I've driven through the desert and I've seen that mirroring effect and stuff. And I just cannot, and especially it reverses the images. So I can't see that Chicago skyline be a mirage. That's impossible. And that Rob went out there too. He pretty much did the footwork to prove that it's flat. I still don't understand why we even argue with the Globers about it, because the evidence is there. And it's so why do we understand how dense sea and the water vapor and stuff like that plays into our vision when we're looking forward? Yet you got someone like Bill Nye who comes out and uses it as an argument to say that we should be able to see London if the earth is flat. Doesn't anybody ask themselves going, hey, aren't you a scientist? Shouldn't you know about, like, that would be impossible either way? It's just not a good argument. And it's almost childish. So we have to ask ourselves, well, if this is the type of argument they're bringing to the table, and these are the people that are running our science and our politics, you know, and we trust them. Like, look at Tyson dropping the mic on the floor. You know, this is gravity. Yeah, okay. And think back in school, if you did that to your science teacher about something, just, you know, basically demonstrated it in a half-ass fashion like that, would that pass? You know, I think it's ridiculous. I feel like anytime I see these guys, I'm watching another episode of Friends or something. Yeah, it took me a little bit longer than a week. At first, I was, it was good though too. First, it took me about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I actually allowed the idea to start sinking. At first, I was really, the first couple of weeks I spent researching for glow proof. That was 100%. Yeah, truth isn't for cowards, right, Pill? And there's that, there's a guy who actually titled his video Cowards. And it's about flat earthers running away from the argument. I mean, running away from it. And I never run away from this argument. It's not an argument to me. I'm just presenting truth. If you want to call me a retard, a flat tard, or whatever, go ahead. If that's your way of researching and debating it, then sorry for you. But I don't know. I think it's quite laughable that they feel they can win arguments with insults. Anybody with intelligence is just going to laugh at you. You got to sit down and be patient and logical and lay out the evidence. It might be boring sometimes, but you know what? It's a foundation. Concrete takes time to dry. Yeah, but just like that footage, there's some distortions off of I believe, the light coming through the airplane windows, causing, you know, that little infinity symbol and stuff. I don't think that was added to the footage afterwards, because this guy, I mean, it was an article and everything. I mean, should never take anything 100%, but I'm just saying that someone can easily take that footage and look at those little light blemishes and then start creating another story out of them. One great thing about man, we're the greatest storytellers of all time. I mean, you gotta watch out. Everything. Go watch all the UFO stuff where I used to follow a lot of it, and I look back at it and go, Tori, damn, what are you thinking? I mean, they're really reaching. Like all the I forget some of the channels, I think somewhere like Siren Moon or whatever, the crop circle stuff. But I look back at it and I can see now where they go look at a little bubble, which we see them taking space, which is obvious. You know, they even show us with their damn ISS and the damn tank. Like, you know, but regardless, you'll get a space channel, someone that believes in UFOs, taking that bubble and creating a whole UFO story out of it. You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of look at it. What people got to do is really, really double check every piece of evidence. Like, especially if I was bad, and that's one of the things I think I've gone better in the videos is I saw that, and it wasn't intentional, but I felt that I clipped the videos too much and I was presenting more of what I favored, which is wrong. That's cherry picking in a way, right? So to me, to be faithful to the flat earth cause, I felt that was more poignant to come out and present the evidence on face value. If I found some footage from a high altitude aircraft, I'm going to present it all, you know, and I did put out, it's actually one of our bigger videos, but, you know, let people decide on their own. Do they trust the canopy and the GoPro lens to say that that's curvature, or is their logical brain going to figure that out and know that they're altering what they're seeing? And when you really look at all the shadows and everything, you can actually see it's a flat plane. So it's really up to the viewer, right? I don't want to sit there and go, see, see that, you know, you have to believe me. If you don't believe me, you're an idiot. You know, like, that's not the way to do it. I want to teach you how to fish, you know. Well, you know, and I'll get into the videos where I went out into the public. Actually, Todd and I spent a good couple months trying to get something going, but yeah, just life. I mean, life is, we all know, difficult. Unfortunately, we work inside the paradigm of the system the way it is, so money is important to get anything going, and, you know, that's just the way that kind of stuff goes. So we did what we could with what resources we had. We got a good message out there, but personally, honestly, if I can get, like, we have the internet, which supposedly we can connect to everybody in the world instantaneously, in a sense. If we can just get this viral with the correct information, instead of letting the information, every time I look from any kind of article that's talking about this, or any kind of newcomer to the scene that's trying to debunk the scene, I always see the same thing happen every time. I see them talk about Eric DeBay, Mark Sargent, or, you know, certain people, and it's always, and if you look, it's the carbon copy all the time. All the information is, you can see where the gatekeepers are, because the media, guess who are they going to go and look at the information for Flat Earth from? Is the gatekeepers. You think they're going to come and look at Flat Earth Hub? I can guarantee you, the one thing you're not going to be able to find is one media outlet anywhere, or anybody promoting my channel. Because, you know what, the one thing I do know is I'm a real person, like just an average person that cares about what I'm doing here, trying to get a message out. I have no agenda about this, you know, so that's why I mean, again, you don't have to believe me, but it's kind of how I kind of base a lot of what I can see, you know, and notice with even our own channel. So actually, YouTube has made it pretty revealing. Of over a year, I can watch how our channel, the numbers on it compared to other people doing the exact same material, or even actually using the same material, like taking some of our material and getting faster numbers quicker, and for no apparent reason. So you kind of wonder, right? No, I don't care how many numbers are there. Actually, I was quite impressed just to get over 100 people watching our channel. So to me, all I needed to do is get one person changed, and I'm sure the creator is going to be quite happy with me, you know. So if I can just add to that pile of people, all the better. You know, if I can get 2, 3, 4, 5, 500, 600, 1,000, million, it's all the same. I'm sure I'm doing the right job. Yeah, 6 degrees of separation. And that's actually funny, because that's in the NASA document we were talking about earlier. Not in this text, but, you know, there's the 6 degrees of freedom in some of the apparatuses they use in flight. So, anything else? Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. In a way, already I kind of want to rush through the review, because actually I stumbled on some great information today that I want to get some more research in, but I want to get it all presented out to you guys, and I actually want to do it through Hangouts, because I think actually the information will come across better this way than doing videos on it, because I'm going to walk through all the information and show you exactly what I'm seeing, so that you can see how I'm researching it, what I'm looking at, and if you guys can help me along the way, I can watch chat at the same time and see if what you guys think along the way. Maybe I'm missing something as we're going along, and it can be helpful, fruitful. So I might only do another review, because there are some videos I want to just get up to about Disney, and a few other things I want to bring to your guys' attention that I think that needs just a little bit more attention. But other than that, yeah, see how it goes. I didn't know. Actually, I had a bad taste in my mouth for Hangouts after Andre kind of screwed me over by playing me into using my other channel to start the damn debate thing, which now is growing into a beast, in my opinion. But yeah, trolls don't bother me at all because most of the time I know exactly what they're up to. And it doesn't bother me. It's this wasn't going to be an easy fight. If anybody ever thinks that Flat Earth was going to ever be an easy fight to bring to the public, that's dreaming. But anyway, I'm going to shut her down here, guys. You guys have a good night. And I'll run another one tomorrow. I might make it a little bit earlier, like 5 or 6 o'clock. Okay, see ya.